So yeah, just easy stuff first. Just give us a little bit of background, like born and raised, and like what you was into as a kid and that.
Nice. Are we headphoning it? Does it matter?
No, I don't even think we're plugged in, are we? No, we don't need headphones.
Nice. Born and raised. I was born in Angola, Indiana, which is like probably 35 minutes north of Fort Wayne.
All right.
But then raised in Auburn, Indiana, which is probably another 15 miles south. So just outside of Fort Wayne, really, probably about 20 minutes. But it was a small town.
Yeah.
And just small town Indiana, like not much going on
there. No, not much goes on there.
No, not really. I mean, it was just kind of very typical, like stereotypical small town Indiana. Baseball, football, that kind of stuff. And then a lot of the kids I went to school with, they were either like kind of jocks or farmers.
Okay, yeah.
There's like not many people, as far as I knew, there weren't a lot of people that were kind of like into something different other than just kind of like your regular top 40 radio or like rock radio, classic rock radio.
Mainstream shit, yeah.
Oh yeah, super mainstream stuff. But I have an older brother who's probably 5 years older than me, and he was like super into like heavy metal, you know? So, and he had friends that were like a couple years older than him who were like really into metal. Like they all played guitar and stuff. And these dudes would, they'd go to like Fort Wayne, which is like quote unquote, like the big city, they'd go like every weekend, they'd go to like the good record store, Wooden Nickel Records, which was like the good record store. And they'd just buy everything in the like metal import.
What was it called?
Wooden Nickel.
Wooden Nickel.
Wooden Nickel.
Okay.
Yeah. But so then like, and my brother was like, he was, and I was starting to kind of get into that stuff too, obviously my older brother liked it, but
how old were you when you was getting into this?
Like 11, 12. Yeah. But it was really cool because it was like, the real deal. Like I remember the dude coming back with like Metallica, Kill 'Em All, and like they'd have Venom records and basically everything that was like fucking cool,
and considered probably scary at that point in time.
Oh yeah, totally. You would see like all sorts of like 2020 was like a like a news show or whatever. You'd see like a story on like is heavy metal making our teens commit suicide and like
satanic panic.
Total satanic panic, yeah. So yeah, it was cool. So I had like good influences in that, and like music, and those guys were all super cool to me, and they were older, like like my brother's friends, and they were really cool. Amazing. So yeah, so it was like you get led down like a actually like a good path instead of like some random.
What music what bands were you listening to like at that young age?
Yeah, I would listen to like whatever they would bring back,
Venom and
Venom and Metallica and like we're getting like Anthrax and like Merciful Fate. Like
I wonder how you got into metal.
Yeah. I got like the Merciful Fate Melissa cassette when I was like right when it came out, pretty much. So
amazing. And was there like gigs would have been in Fort Wayne then? I guess, right?
Yeah, they would have, but yeah. So I mean, it was. They would get shows at the Fort Wayne Memorial Coliseum, and we'd get like all the typical like Motley Crue. Yeah. I mean that was actually a band too. When I we had MTV obviously, and I would see the video for Looks That Kill, and I was like, oh my god, I have to like go out and get this record. I'd take my dad to like the big box department store, and they actually had Shout the Devil on vinyl, and he's like, That's the one you want? I'm like, yeah, that one. And it has like the pentagram on the cover. And like, I didn't know what the pentagram was, At one point, I think before that got that record, I was like, hey, show me how to draw a star. And my dad drew a star and like I drew a circle around it, because like I didn't know what it was, I just like, I'm seeing it on MTV records, and like on the record, so like, and I probably wore that record out, But, obviously that's like hair metal stuff, but
But that's the gateway, isn't it?
That's the gateway. Yeah, it is totally the gateway. So we would get some shows in the quote unquote the big city. You know, Motley Crue that was my first concert. Motley Crue Theater of Pain tour, and then my second show was Ozzy with I guess it was Ultimate Sin tour with Metallica opening up. And that was Master of Puppets. And
you saw that?
Yeah, and that was a few months before Cliff Burton died. So I actually saw that. I was like 12. I don't know. I don't even remember how I convinced my parents to let me go or whatever. But yeah, I went, and I mean that's some life changing shit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Life changer. Like
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was how much? What was? Did you think Metallica was better than Ozzy then?
Oh yeah, totally. So, I mean, my brothers were like. I have two brothers that were both kind of metalheads. One lived with us, and one lived with his mother, and they were both huge, like Black Sabbath fans. But the brother I lived with, he liked Metallica too. He's kind of like the one that introduced me to him. Yeah, because that's the new back then. That was like the new stuff as well. Oh yeah,
yeah.
Listening to Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, like I mean,
I
like Kill 'Em All too, but like I vividly remember like. You know, putting Master of Puppets down on vinyl and listening to it with my buddies, and like we probably just start to back like 4 or 5 times in a row.
The only person I know who's seen them with Cliff Burton, I think. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. Because he was gone early, wasn't he? Like.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that was cool though. So we did have like some show. You know, like I was so young and I still lived, you know, like 20 miles outside of Fort Wayne, but when you're 12, 20 miles may as well be 200 miles.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So you're not going anywhere unless someone's giving you a lift. But luckily I had some older dudes that like thought it was cool. You know, their friend's younger brother listened to metal, so they'd bring me along. You know,
that's unreal.
Yeah.
Oh, and what was your first bike? Did you have a bike around this time?
Yeah, I mean, me and all my siblings, like we always had bikes. I don't ever remember like not having bikes. You know, so. I mean, you know, I had some kind of weird tricycle. I had some, you know, my brothers were on 10 speeds, and it was like, you know, you probably see like the memes or whatever that show like, you know, the kid jumping the piece of wood, and it's our street in the 80s, and that was totally it. You know, like my brothers would jump through 10 speeds off of, you know, plank of wood on whatever. So so I always had some kind of bike. I don't, you know, so my first bike that was like close to a BMX bike, it probably wasn't an actual BMX bike, but it was like similar. You know, I don't even remember what the brand was. It was just a department store brand. But I do remember I got a Huffy that was a Space Invaders themed Huffy, the video game Space Invaders. Yeah, and it was a Huffy.
And that was the first one.
Yeah, and that was it. You know, and it might have had, I can't remember. It might have had a banana seat on it, but it definitely had like fenders. But it had like all the cool Space Invaders graphics and stuff, you know.
Have you looked, see if you can see pictures of it online?
I'm pretty sure I have looked at some point, but I don't recall. But yeah, so it was just, I mean, it was a thing, like everyone had bikes. The whole neighborhood had bikes, and you would just be up and down the street and around the block and down the road and like.
Kid stuff,
Yeah, I mean, that whole thing where it's like, you know, you're done with school and you get on your bike and then you're whatever, you're out playing until it's like dark and you got to come home, you know, and eat some dinner and go to bed or whatever, you know. It's like just freedom, you know, just like
your first steps outside of your immediate neighborhood.
Yeah, and it's, you know, you're in a small town too, so there's not really anywhere that you can't like get to that's like a bad neighborhood or like too far away or you know. So it was all pretty safe, but you felt like free, you know. You're like, I'm out of here.
Sure, yeah. And so when was like the first time you sort of saw something BMX related?
I mean, I had probably seen some kids on BMX bikes, like in the mix with everyone else on their 10 speeds or whatever, you know, here or there, or seen them in a department store, but didn't really think anything of it, you know, because it's like, you might see the bike, but you're not like, if you're not seeing the tricks, you don't understand that it's like a thing. You're like, oh, you're just like, oh, that's a cool bike. That's a nice bike. You know, you don't know that it's actually like a tool designed for getting rad, you know? But I probably, E.T. was probably the first time I saw like, you know, like on the screen, you're like, oh wow, this is cool. I mean, you see kids that have a little little jump here or there in the neighborhood, like I said, on a piece of wood, or maybe just like some like grass embankment where there's a little tranny kind of kicked out of it, or, you know, carved out with a shovel or whatever. But seeing ET on the screen, you know, you're like, oh, whoa, that's pretty cool. But I had a friend though who's I'd become friends with this kid, Doug Colbert, and he lived like 6 or 7 blocks away from me, you know, and he had a BMX bike, and we had become like best friends. And it was always like I'd pedal over to his house, and then we'd go pedal around the neighborhoods. And I can't remember, he might have had like a red line, but his older brother was into motorcycles, but he would also like get on the bikes and like do wheelies, you know?
Okay, yeah.
And then my friend Doug was like he was like wheelie master.
Yeah.
He wasn't like jumping and doing stunts, but he was like, you know, he could do wheelies for a few 100 feet or whatever, you know? And you're just kind of blown away like, whoa, that's super cool, you know? But his brother at some point had gotten a subscription to like Super BMX and Freestyle or something like that, you know? And that was kind of the first time where like you're actually seeing people doing, you know, some kind of organized, you know, racing, BMX racing, BMX riding. And, you know, it just like, it looks so cool. Because growing up, I was also really into like, you know, I was into like G.I. Joe and He-Man and like all the toys, Star Wars, big Star Wars buff, you know? And, you know, I knew I enjoyed riding bikes, right? I knew I had fun riding bikes, and there was like a sense of freedom with it. But when I opened up a magazine and you would see these guys and these like these racers in their full uniforms, and they would have like maybe the goggles with like the full stream, the face mask thing, you kind of look like a superhero. You know, you can't, the identity, it's just,
some sort of Star Wars character,
like a stormtrooper, or you're like a, you know, because you're looking at this person and you can't tell who they are. There's no, you know, you look like some kind of soldier or some kind of
some big mystique to the shots.
Yeah, very mysterious. So like, I just thought it looked cool as hell, you know. And I was like, whoa, this looks like super cool. Bikes are already fun, you know, like they're already fun. So it just made it like twice as cool, you know. And we had a couple dudes in our town who are starting to realize, oh, these guys are like, they're kind of like starting to do tricks on their bikes, you know. This one guy, Jeremy Engel, who I discovered, you know, he's friends with my brother, and at some point I saw him, like he rode in like a parade. You know, we had parades for a couple in a year for like whatever. Each year we'd have a couple parades, and I think I saw him riding in like a parade and doing like, probably saw him do like a Miami Hopper or something. And I was just like, what, you know? Like it's one thing to see it in a movie or see it in a magazine, but then when you realize, oh, my town of like, you know, whatever, 30,000 people or 20,000 people or whatever, and there's someone that's actually doing this stuff. It becomes way more attainable, you know, and it's way more inspirational seeing in person. Just because oh wow, I mean, I don't think I could do that, but maybe I could do something. So we would go over to this dude's house, and he had a 6-foot quarter pipe. I had seen a quarter pipe before that, there was one in kind of like the nicer neighborhood, like, you know, a couple miles from my house. And I don't know, this kid just had a quarter pipe in his driveway, but, you know, just went up, kind of turned around on it, didn't really, you know, so didn't make too much of an impact. But this guy, Jeremy Engel, I went over to his house and he was blasting like 6 feet.
No way.
Yeah. And I was just like, he was good at riding flatland. He could blast a quarter, and then I found out too, he raced, and he was decent at racing, you know.
Oh, he was the man.
He was the man. He was the man. And he was like my brother's age. He was like 6 years older than me.
Okay.
You know, but he was like, yeah, come over anytime. Like, you can ride the ramp, you can, like, you know, and he, same musical taste too, you know, so it's just like more of the same, you know, like that was the thing. It was kind of funny because like the handful of guys that did ride BMX in my town in Auburn, they were all kind of metalheads, you know, they're all like long hair and ripped jeans and like, so it was like,
was that big?
It just went hand in hand, really.
Middle America was big for heavy metal.
I mean, with the cool dudes it was.
Yeah, okay.
But the dudes that you thought were like really cool, you know, like
okay.
you know, to of course to everyone else, like the jocks and whatever, this shit was lame. Fucking headbanger shit.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you'd get made fun of, you know, if you had long hair, or like, you know, you'd listen to that kind of music, or if you rode a bike, you know, like it wasn't cool. It wasn't football, and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't you know, Frog Hat or whatever.
Whitney Houston.
Yeah, exactly. Whitney Houston or Aerosmith or whatever. You were just like, you were like a freak, you know.
Yeah, weirdo.
Yeah. And people would let you know, and you know.
Excellent. So your first. I thought you was going to say the first thing you rode was a track, actually.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. The first thing I rode was there was a little fly out jump, you know, around down the block or whatever, you know. But I got to ride like a 6-foot quarter pipe, and it was like this guy Jeremy. He was like all hutched out, you know. He had like a couple bikes, but he had the quarter pipe was all white. It had the hutch with the stars painted on it and everything, and it was like pretty legit. I don't know if he might have had some kind of like quote unquote co-sponsorship. Yeah. You know, at the time brands were doing stuff where like, you're on the co-sponsorship team, you get stuff at a little bit over cost, or you know, whatever. Some kind of deal that you know, some of the race companies would have, just to have someone wearing like all their stuff. Dudes who were good.
Yeah, he had sponsors and that as well.
Yeah, so he had a bike. It was, you know, it was like candy apple red hutch, you know, and like he had a
dream machine back then. Yeah. What bike did you have when you visited that first quarter?
That's a good question. I ended up buying this bike, and it was like a tracker. Do you know what? It was garbage. And I even had a buddy who was like, "Oh, don't buy that," because this thing was all freestyled out. It had like the fake copy of like SE standing gear forks, and it had some garbage handlebars with way more tubing than you needed, and but I was just like awestruck by it, you know. But it had Peregrine mags, which was cool, but it was a piece of shit. But my buddy is like, older buddy, no, just buy like the Mach 1 and put front brakes on it and like pegs. And I didn't listen to him, you know, which I should have. But so I had this other bike for probably a year, and it was just like clunky and big and like gross. And then I ended up getting a Cyclecraft frame, like definitely like a very well used, not even gently used. It had like hairline cracks all over the head tube and stuff, and like. But it was cool. It was like, dang, this is like a legit,
this is it,
you know, legit bike. And I pieced that together, and I loved it.
Cool. Was there a shop where you used to buy stuff? Or?
The shop was in the big city in Fort Wayne, so it was, you know, it was a half hour into the big city. So, you know, so like, it was, oh, hey, can we go into the city this weekend? And, you know, it was right next to the record store that sold all the metal records. So it was like, I didn't need to go anywhere else. I could just stay right, you know, in that parking lot basically, and gawk over all the bikes, and you know, it was really cool. You'd go in there, and you know, and it was like, there was always legit guys in there, you know, racers or freestylers or like and you know, you just, of course, you'd see like all the sickest bikes, you know, like, and you would just drool over them.
Real BMX
bikes for sure. But they were all so expensive, you know, like, and at that point, you know, I hadn't like started racing yet or anything. Yeah. So it's like, you know, you're 12 or whatever, your parents aren't going to go spend a shitload of money, you know.
You're just soaking it up and like lusting over stuff, like literally. And what was like, was you picking up regular BMX media at this point? Or?
Yeah, so my friend's brother, Doug, the guy that I was talking about, his older brother had this subscription to Super BMX and Freestyle. Yeah. So we would, you know, we were always looking at the magazines. We were soaking it up, man. It was, you know, tons of racing and some, you know, wacky freestyle and like
riding.
What's that?
Was there skate park riding in some of them, or was it after?
I mean, I don't really remember there being much, because it was still pretty early on. I mean, Pipeline maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Pipeline and you know, and of course Rad. You know, like when Rad came out, I watched that. You know, and I, you know, we had a basement at our house, and my room was like in the basement kind of, and I would just, you know, especially Indiana, you have winter, you know. Yeah. And there's nowhere, you can't ride anywhere in the winter. So I would like ride in my basement, which wasn't very big, but I'd like watch Rad and just try and do some
flatland,
just to kind of just some balance stuff and whatever, you know, like nothing too challenging. but it was enough to keep you stoked. Two, you would, on the days where it wasn't super shitty out, you would get bundled up.
Yeah,
you'd go jump into some snowbanks, or you would you would do.
you would make it happen. Yeah,
you would make it happen. You would It had to be really, really shitty to not go out and but you would put on every piece of clothing you owned. Yeah, and you'd come back and you'd be like totally numb. Yeah,
Who was the some of the early influences? Like outside of the local scene, then like through the magazines.
Yeah, like, Diz Hicks.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, of course, the metal thing and the that was a thing too. It's like my friend had the quarter pipe, but it's like right when you start riding those, you're not good at them. You have to you have to really learn how to ride a quarter pipe. So I had convinced my dad to let me build, he helped me build because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I built a kick turn ramp, So, so I'm seeing Diz Hicks in the magazines, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to build this ramp because that's like the easiest type of ramp to build. You don't have to put some wild transition
on it. Cost the least as well, yeah.
Yeah, cost the least. It was just most attainable. So I had a kick turn ramp, and I was psyched on Diz Hicks. He had the spike bracelets. He had the Exodus sticker underneath his visor, and some photos I remember seeing. And
pure attitude.
Yeah, pure attitude.
And what I used to notice was, if there's a picture of Diz Hicks doing an air, there was always someone in the background with their fist up. Like he brought his own crowd. Yeah. I love that dude. There was that advert that I used to see quite often here, and it was the one that said disease.
Yeah.
Where he's like tongue out and stuff. Yeah. I thought that guy was amazing as well.
Yeah. It's funny because like a couple of years later, in my middle school yearbook. For the yearbook cover, what they wanted to do was like a collage, and they took stuff out of, hey, give me some out of your locker, out of your locker. And I had the Diz Hicks flirting with disaster.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So it's actually on the cover of like my 8th grade yearbook, 7th or 8th grade yearbook.
The front hop, like mock front hops.
Yeah, he's doing the front row hops, and there's the chicks, they're like, who basically like hookers, they're like watching them do that, but it's on the cover of my yearbook. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, I'll have to send you a photo of it.
That's fucking awesome.
But yeah, he was definitely I was riding in.
He was obviously because of the metal connection.
Yeah. That was a big thing. But just the attitude, Yeah. I don't know. It's even though it's freestyle, you still see a lot of guys that look the same, and he looked. Not many dudes look like him.
Yeah, but the attitude was. Metal attitude, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. It was throwing like the devil horns, or like tongue out, or just like aggro, which is like
even that front hop, that flirting with disaster, like it looks like an aggro front hop, right? It's like yeah, I love it.
Yeah, big influence for sure.
And when did you first sort of start getting outside of of your area, or what was like the first event that you actually went to, like other than a race?
Other than a race, that's a good question. It would have been like races. This guy Jeremy, he took me to some races.
Okay.
But at the time, you would go to a race, and there'd be some dudes in the parking lot flat landing, or jumping like a curb cut, or jumping,
just riding,
just riding. So that was a thing, because I don't remember really many like freestyle contests or anything right around where in our area.
No shows either.
No, not really. There might have. It's funny because I was looking at the magazines, but there could have been shows coming to Fort Wayne, and I would have kind of been oblivious to it.
Yeah, okay.
If I was only going to the bike shop once every 2 months, or or like
it's enough time to
because I don't even know that I was ever like making a connection by looking at the magazine and like, oh, are there tour dates? Are these guys going on tour? Because someone probably came through Fort Wayne and I didn't even know it, But I would definitely see some stuff at races, and I would say something that was like pretty notable, and I don't necessarily know if it had much of an influence on me, but I was racing. I decided to start racing, and I enjoyed it. I did like okay, and we were. I was racing a state series, for state plates, like state ranking, whatever. And it was like a 3-stop series or whatever. Yeah. And so they probably had a race in Fort Wayne, and then they had a race in. I'm having a hard time even remembering what it must have been close to Indianapolis, or maybe it was Muncie. And we rolled up, and I saw these two dudes riding flatland, and they were like crushing it, you know? Like, holy shit, these guys are like no joke. Like, it's not a Miami Hopper. It's not, you know? And
were they doing rolling tricks or something?
I mean, all sorts of everything.
Scuffing and stuff,
And it was Bill Nitschke and Perry Murbaugh.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, because they were from Indianapolis, which was, Indianapolis is about an hour and a half south of Fort Wayne. But, you know, the only time I would ever go down there is for, a race. But yeah, just like seeing those dudes. And that was like, you know, that probably would have been 87.
Wow.
You know, or 88 maybe. Yeah, maybe 86, 87. Something like that. I'm really terrible with years and all that. Yeah. But, I mean, that was like, you know, to see dudes at that level like that, they were basically pros, you know. I don't think at that point they had like, they hadn't broken into like the pro scene, but they were like knocking on its door, you know.
Yeah, okay.
You know, Perry would have invented like the Whopper like a couple of years later, or I'm not Perry, but Bill. Yeah. Bill would have invented it like a couple of years later, you know. But also too, we would go to like the Christmas Classic races in Columbus, Ohio, and those were the indoor races that you would like. Eventually, you know, later on you'd see them in props and whatever. But that was like, you know, and that was like a really big national race where people would come from all over the country, and you'd even get like riders from other countries that would come, and even if there were people that didn't race in the event, they would come and ride and hang out, and if the weather happened to be not too bad one day, they'd all go street riding or like, you know. And it's funny because you would have guys like Todd Lyons who's there, you know. And I remember one year a bunch of people used to say, hey, have you ever heard of Dodge Skate Park in Columbus, Ohio? It's a concrete park. It's like trying to think of where you would have seen it. Stephen Hamilton rides it. It's like an old school. It's a really old school park.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this was probably more when I was like 17, 18. But going there with like a huge group of dudes that were from all over the country racing. Yeah. It was like Moeller and Clymer and like Todd Lyons and all these guys, you know. And
who's
those dudes are as good as anybody, any freestyler or whatever, you know. Those guys are top dudes. So, so that's something, you know. I did go the first time I really saw like professional freestylers was I went to a dyno show when I was 14, and it was like in Akron, Ohio. It was actually, and this pains me to say this because I didn't know it, but it's the same weekend as the Indianapolis King of Vert. Which was like, you know, somehow I didn't know that the King of Vert was happening an hour and a half away from me. And I went to 3 hours to like go to a race, because I think it was a race one day, and then we're like going to hit up this dyno show the next day. And but it was pretty sick.
Who was riding for dyno?
It was Dino and it was Volker.
Okay.
And you know what? There was one other person, but I can't remember who it was. But I do remember rolling up to the show and Volker was on crutches, and I was so bummed because he was the dude I wanted to see, you know.
That's funny because it kind of makes you realise how small BMX had got. That you didn't even know that contest was on.
I didn't even know. Yeah. That no one.
1990, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That contest. Yeah. That's how small things were. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. And now I go back and I see that footage, and I'm just like,
fuck it. That's one of the best. Yeah.
I'm heartbroken that I didn't go.
That's one of my favourite, like, mini advert. Like that was when we watched that here.
Jay's first pro contest.
And people grinding properly but not just like on the ramp, but on that back rail. I think it's Jay as well. Right? And it was
Jay does that grind.
This is all changed now. Yeah. Decade Air. And big, huge 540s and So it's turning point right there.
Dennis did a 9 there, and like
big airs on the mini. Like head high airs. Yeah. Unreal. Yeah, you missed that one, mate.
Yeah, I blew that one. I have no idea. I must have been in like the race bubble, like, I'm going to go to this national. And I don't think I even knew about it, like, until years later, probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Until the magazine came out, and I'm like, wait, this happened.
What about the video? Did you know? Because we got that video like coincidentally, like early, because we got that video when Matt and Kevin Martin came over and he did the first flare.
Which video was it? Was it because they did a trend? There was a trend video, right? Okay, that had footage of it. Yeah. Didn't have it.
Yeah.
Didn't have it. Didn't see
and
it.
They had the New York
Mm-hmm.
street thing as well.
Yeah.
With DMC doing the 720. I think that was on the same video. If I'm correct.
It was, like the thing with, and eventually I did move to Fort Wayne. Like my parents both worked in Fort Wayne, and I was just, I was in the smaller town Auburn, but my friends were starting to like get out of bikes and they were trying to get into cars and whatever. And both my parents worked in Fort Wayne, so they're commuting, this 25 minutes every 30 minutes every day. And I just want to be in Fort Wayne because there's people that ride there, So I convinced, hey, why are we not, And I was like still in high school, but they're like, oh, you don't mind switching schools? And I'm like, no, please, I would love to. And Auburn too is not a very diverse, it's a small town in Indiana, so it's like
feel like you're sticking out. Yeah.
It's not but it's also not a real representation of like the real world and the diversity of the real world, So it's like going to a school that basically in Auburn, my whole school is just it's white. The whole school is white.
Okay.
Which is that's fine, but it's like because that's where you live. But it just something about it didn't. You go to Fort Wayne and you feel like I'm like in the
you're in the
you can breathe. I'm like in the real world.
In the city, like things are crazy and people don't even like notice them.
Yeah,
that's what I thought anyway.
Yeah. So moving to Fort Wayne though, I was like, I was racing and riding, whatever, freestyle, jumping, and have some front brakes on my bike or whatever. But I was pretty into the racing thing, and that was like this whole scene there was mostly racers. There weren't many freestylers. So but they had like an amazing race scene. They had a dude, Barry McManus, who was like national number 1 16-year-old expert, and then and then that dude Scott Yocolette, I don't know if you remember him later. Yeah. He was, you would go to the races, the local races in Fort Wayne, and you'd see like 10 dudes who were like real sponsored riders, and they were like top 5 nationally ranked dudes. So it was like dudes were pretty, it was serious, but we had a lot of fun, but it was like, it was just, dude, no one there was like, I need to go see the freestyle show, or maybe they would if there was something close, but they weren't like focused on that.
Full races.
They were racing and they were riding we were riding the racetrack like almost every day of the week you'd go and ride the jumps on the racetrack and it was cool. And dudes were really into riding and jumping.
Yeah,
but there wasn't many people like riding freestyle. There wasn't the skate park in Fort Wayne. There did get to be one a couple years later. A pretty nice skate park, but it was like skate only for like the first few years, So there still wasn't really many dudes like
devoid of a spot. So it's hard to get into riding. Scotty Yocolette was in California when I went there. He's unreal. Yeah, I mean, we came to a couple of trails that we were at.
Yeah. I mean, he's a guy that Brian Foster cites as like one of his favorite riders. So it's like you got some skill.
Yeah, he's unreal.
But that's what it was. It was mostly race dudes who were they were into jumping and racing and bike control and like some of us would go ride street and whatever, but like dudes were pretty there was just that dirt jumping racing thing that guys were like really into.
Oh, and what's the spark for getting into more of the freestyle side then, or did you just go from racing to trails and then into freestyle?
Yeah, I mean,
have you seen any videos at this point?
I remember seeing Head First, like when that came out, and the Block video. You ever seen the Block? Richard Bartlett.
No, I haven't seen that.
Richard Bartlett, who was like, he's a pro racer, but he was also a jumper. He had a BMX Action cover, and that was a guy too who was also a very big influence in the beginning. Here's this behemoth of a guy, big, just massive dude, long hair, like getting aggro. You can tell he's like destroying wheels because he's got a mag on the front. He's he's a test rider for like BMX Plus or whatever, even maybe Super BMX and freestyle.
Good image.
Good image, just like a thrasher. But he also raced too, So seeing that and then seeing like Moeller and like SNM kind of take shape. Even though I was like racing more than anything, we're still riding all the time too. But you're like seeing these other guys. You're like, oh wow, these guys are out riding street. They're out,
Yeah, that was a good period of time where that kind of infiltrate.
You could do like all sorts of stuff. You know, it wasn't like, you know, nowadays, you know, what race guy is going to the skate park? Maybe a couple of them, but you know, back then you just rode everything that you could, you know, that so that was like super influential to like see those dudes. But yeah, I mean, it's the jumping thing, you know, if you're into the racing, it's just I feel like it's just a natural progression.
Yeah,
you're like,
totally.
Especially if you're not like, you know, I did okay for a little while, but I wasn't like driven and competitive, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, if I did good, it's because I was riding my bike a bunch. It wasn't because I was like out doing sprints or like whatever. And then at some point you're going to the jumps or you're just out riding street and you're not, you know, the guys that are like serious about the racing, they're just like starting to progress way past you. And then you're like, okay, wait, you know, it's not as fun anymore. I'm getting smoked and wasting money when I really just have fun going and jumping something.
This is more fun than doing this as well.
Yeah,
so.
And this is free and more fun. You know, but that is like the race part of it is where you get really exposed to the travel.
Yeah.
And like, you know, oh wow, I just went to a race 6 hours away, you know, a few weeks ago, and then now next week I'm going to go to this other race and I'm going to see some of the same guys and we just go riding around. Like, you know, you're like, you have this little community.
It's a scene,
a scene, a community, and it's just like, I don't know, you know, and it's like, obviously over here you guys aren't into like driving 6 hours or, you know, at the drop of a hat. Yeah. But it was like when you race, you're like, okay, well, the schedule is like, you know, the one weekend it's 10 hours away. In 2 weeks, that race is 16 hours away, you know, like, and you're just trying to be like, how can I just get to as many of these as I can?
Yeah.
And ride my bike and have fun, you know, because it's way more fun than not doing, you know, than if you're just staying at home and
not doing anything.
You only have a couple dudes to ride with. Yeah. I mean, you see the world, you know. Yeah. And you're kind of like out in the world, and especially if you're doing it and it's like you're not with your parents.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, I'm kind of like on the loose a little bit here.
You feel free. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so the dirt thing just became, you know, it just became just something that was made more sense, you know. And you know, you don't have to have a track to have some jumps.
Yeah.
You know, we had a little jump spot in Fort Wayne. You know, there were a couple little spots, but yeah, and I'm probably jumping forward a little bit here, but we didn't really have a spot till like Tag and Gilly came to Fort Wayne. You know, we had a spot, but it wasn't really a spot. Those dudes made it a spot.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
Oh, so if your video timeline would you have seen was Headfirst the first freestyle video you saw?
I don't think it was the very first. I think I can't remember if Bill Nitschke made them, but there were a couple. There's a little series. Maybe there's only one or two of them. Video called Straight Out of Indy, and it's like Indianapolis kind of local video. But I think maybe Bill Nitschke, maybe he made it or he filmed a bunch of it or whatever. And that was like one of the first videos I had seen. That, and I mean, I'm terrible on the time frame, but I'm assuming Roger's Garage came out before Headfirst or no? Yeah, see, this is bad because I can't remember. But
no, I'd say no.
No? Okay, so Headfirst came out. I mean, I remember seeing Headfirst and I hadn't seen many videos.
I'd say it was only a year between the two.
Is it? Okay.
I think, yeah.
Could
be wrong. But,
and that was mind-blowing, obviously, you know, like...
Yeah,
I mean,
ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculous. And before that, I hadn't seen like Aggro Man or hadn't seen.
Okay, that's what I mean. That's what I wanted to ask you. Yeah, about Aggro Man.
Yeah, because no one that I knew really had videos. I mean, there weren't many out, but again, the guys were they're all kind of racers. So you know, maybe I saw like I don't know GT demo tape or something. You know, like, but or maybe 101 freestyle tricks or something. But I don't. I mean, I didn't own those.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if anyone I know did. But there was a lot of stuff that you would see a lot of the ESPN action sports. You'd see some of like the Vision Streetwear shows, some of those shows that were on like ESPN.
Yeah.
Like the Stonehenge thing and like a few, and you'd see races too. And sometimes
there was a jumping one come up recent, wasn't there? It was in HP.
I'm not sure if I saw that.
Yeah.
But that was a way, I was getting exposed to stuff you'd see on TV. You're like, holy shit, this is on TV. That's cool. But yeah, as far as legit videos, it was maybe that Straight Out of Indie video, maybe one or two local videos from somewhere that was like cool, but super low budget and like but seeing Head First was like it was mind blowing,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, especially Matt doing like a million combos and
everything about that video.
Everything about it, Jawbreaker, Fugazi, like instantly you're like, what's this new?
Yeah.
Because no one I really knew was listening to that music, and it instantly you're like, I have to go buy this cassette. I have to go get this Fugazi.
So it opened up again another new world, right? With all of that was going on there.
I mean, that too, though, when I moved to Fort Wayne, that was more like my sophomore year of high school. Then, you're meeting, like I said, you're meeting a whole diverse world of people. And it's, not just culture, culturally, but like musically, it's like, it's not just like the jocks and the metalheads. Now there's the punks and some goths.
Yeah.
And,
and you're in a city, so there's like, it's easy. There's scenes of all of those. I would assume anyway.
Yeah, and two, it would be like before school, a bunch of those kids would hang out in like one area, and so it's like the skateboarders talking to the goths and the punks, and it's like it was like a melting pot of like all these different musical styles and fashions and like types of people, personalities, cool, and it was that was eye opening too. That whole moving to Fort Wayne was like the best thing that. It opened up my world. It was like,
awesome. And what, like, if you go forward a bit, how did the Fort Wayne why did everyone commute to Fort Wayne? Like,
it's pretty funny. It's a kind of a long and weird story. When my junior year of high school, there was a regional national, and a few guys from Pittsburgh came to the national, and it was Justin Short, who had the cover of issue 3 of Dig cover, the guy with the turquoise peregrines, that guy. Him and my friend Rich Rostosher and a couple other dudes. And I didn't really know these dudes, but they show up at the race, and Justin's probably got a mohawk. He's like wearing 2 different color shoes. He's he's a total misfit, but like super nice guy and like really rad bike rider. And we just kind of like hung out all weekend. We went to the Streby's house like after the race and like rode their jumps, and like Justin got knocked out and like but Justin would like draw all these cartoons, and he was super funny. He did a lot of the push artwork. But anyway, so the weekend's over, they go back, and I didn't like you didn't even think to get like phone numbers or any way to contact these dudes or whatever. And then I'm going through my senior year of high school, and I end up meeting this girl who's going to school in Auburn at this town I grew up in. And I'm not there anymore, but met this girl, and she was like from the Pittsburgh area. And she was like, she didn't get along with her parents, and the parents sent her to go live with her aunt, she's like troubled teen thing. And we hit it off, and we were like dating. And then one day I'm at this girl's house, and she's talking to her best friend on the phone at home. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm dating this BMX guy, And then I hear her say, what, you are too? Like so her friend's dating a BMX guy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's his name? Justin Short? And the girl is like, yeah, how do you know my boyfriend's name? Like total stab in the dark, small world, like the weirdest, it's totally bizarre, like just like, small world shit. And so then like the school year ended and summer came around, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go visit. The girl I was dating went back to Pittsburgh for the summer. So I went to go visit her, and we go to the South Park National.
Okay.
South Park National with Justin, so we're hanging out with him. And he had started Push Trails with Stig, Jason Stig, earlier that year. And Push Trails were right down the road, or not too far, like 5 minutes from the BMX track where the National was happening. They have a big Pittsburgh National. Yeah. So I went to this Pittsburgh National, and Justin Short's there, and we're hanging out, and he's like, oh, you want to come see our jumps or whatever? Yeah, okay. So we go, and Stig's at the trails, and Crandall's at the trails with Tag and Gilly. So I meet those 3 guys at Stig. Stig wasn't with them, but and Justin Short knew Crandall because those guys lived up in Ithaca, and Justin's mom lived in upstate New York, close to Ithaca. So they met at the BMX track up there, So he had convinced those guys to come down to Pittsburgh. We all met at Push, which is like the most bizarre thing, know. And so I became like pen pals with Crandall, and I graduated a year before those guys did, and so Crandall was getting ready to graduate. We would pen pal for like a year, and we would talk on the phone once in a while. And him and Gilly and Tag, they were all getting ready to graduate high school. And Crandall's like, "Oh, you should move here." And I'm like, "No, you just move here." And he goes, "Okay." So like, it's so weird. Like, so they just kind of moved. They moved. They didn't have. There's another long story about how they didn't have any money, and I was working at a t-shirt printers. I was working at this t-shirt printing place, and I had. We'll get to this a little bit later, I'm sure. That I had started like making t-shirts, like Scum Clothing t-shirts, And I was working at this place, and I wanted to get a batch of shirts made, and I did, and they were kind of pricey. And I don't know if I want to do that again. I just lost a bunch of money, really. Yeah. You see, even if you sell the shirts, you barely break even, But I had a guy. This place got a lot of contracts from another screen printer across the road who did. Had contracts for tour T-shirts for big bands like Ramones and like Snoop Dogg and like all this stuff, So basically, the screen printer that I was working at, they were taking all this extra work from this other place because they just couldn't. They had more work than they could handle. Yeah. So we got asked if we wanted to do a second shift at this place to do some of these concert shirts, And they needed people to volunteer for a second shift, and I said, "I'll do it. Yeah, whatever. I'll try it." And this guy who was like they made him like the night manager, like in charge of, everyone there. He was like, "Oh yeah, I saw you had gotten some shirts printed," like, and he knew that I was doodling and drawing and I wanted to get some more shirts made, but it was just too pricey. He was basically telling me, he's like, "Hey, if you want to, like, Friday night after we're done working, if you want to make some shirts, I'll go grab a box of shirts off a pallet in the back.
Oh, no way.
And we'll burn some screens and we'll make you some shirts for like really cheap,
That's cool, yeah.
It's super cool, Obviously, obviously after hours and, no one knows about it. Like, but it was like maybe
motivation.
A box of 12 dozen shirts, and we burned probably 3 or 4 screens, and we probably printed up half the shirts, and he probably charged me $50. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm making shirts for like 50 cents a shirt. But it was funny because the palette, it's supposed to be whatever tour T-shirts, and the box said Spin Doctors on it. So the band, it was supposed to be T-shirts for the band, the Spin Doctors. So they came up one box short on their order. But it was funny. So we printed up like half the shirts, and then the dude gave me the rest of the box, and it had 6 dozen shirts that were blank, right? Well, this time Crandall was like, he was like, yeah, we wanted to make the move to Fort Wayne, but they were kind of low on money, and out their way there was like a jumping jam happening somewhere, some trails or something. He was like, he had no idea that I had these shirts. He's like, oh man, if I had some shirts, I could print up some shirts and I'd get gas money. We could move out there, Was he already doing FBM at this point? He was doing FBM at that point, yeah. Which was it's funny because the guy Justin Short, who I was just talking about, he did some of the earliest FBM designs. Like he drew some of that stuff. The fat guy. Stuff. Yeah, the fat guy, the fat bald man. Yeah, similar to the Push. That was Justin Short drew that. Yeah. But it was funny. So, I said to Steve, I have a box of shirts that I can send you, and then you can print on them. Because Steve had his own, he'd burned his own real shitty screens and was like just doing it in his, garage or basement or whatever. I said, well, I'll send you these shirts, and if you can sell them, you'll have money to move here. And I probably talked Fort Wayne up too. We had a good race scene, but the jumps weren't like. I think I was like, well, we got trails, and they weren't really trails. We had a skate park at the time, and they were allowing bikes into the skate park. They had. So I sent him these shirts, and he printed them up, and then they had money. They had gas money to move to Fort Wayne. They got like a Penske truck or something. And Mike Tag, Crandall, Gilly and Joe DeGurda, who was like a guy from Boston. They all moved to Fort Wayne. They had never been there.
That's what I was just about to ask. They'd never been there.
They had never been there. They had never been there.
Wow.
Like, which is it's pretty crazy. It's such nuts, a gamble, you know. The part of the premise of it was that Jody Donnelly was like, "Oh, I'm going to start an indoor skate park." He was telling everyone, "I'm going to start an indoor skate park," and then he told those guys, "You can live at my skate park."
All right.
You know. So they're like, okay, we're going to move to Indiana and we're going to live in a skate park and it's going to be cheap and we're going to be living the dream. Like, exactly. So they show up and Jody had a warehouse and there were some, I think Bill and maybe a couple other dudes had pitched in some ramps that they had and, there was like a box jump but there was a bunch of stuff that hadn't even really been put together, like some random quarters here and there and there's supposed to be a mini ramp or whatever. Anyways, those guys moved there and within like a couple months, the park kind of went under. It just, it was like, this just fell through. It's not happening.
You've run out of money and that's that, yeah.
Yeah, it just, Jody just didn't make it work, So that's when they were like, we got to get a house, So they ended up getting a house, which ended up being the Fat House. But this is where the story is really weird if I go back a little bit to the guy who sold me those shirts, right? 6 months earlier. And it took me a while I always had a weird feeling when I was at the Fat House, like, how do I know this place? The guy who sold me those shirts, he lived in the Fat House. I went there to pay him the money.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't, it took me a while to realize it, 6-7 months down the road, that I had been to this house before, but I just couldn't place it. And then at one point it hit me. I was like, holy shit, the guy who basically stole these shirts and sold them to me for nothing. Yeah. And then I took the shirts and I sent them to Crandall. And then Crandall sold those and had the money to move to Fort Wayne. Then they moved into the Fat. It was such a weird, that's some weird, it was meant to be type shit. That's like some fateful shit, It's so weird. It's so weird.
Well, it must have been cheap to live in Fort Wayne. I would say,
it was super cheap. That was one of the reasons. Yeah, they lived in Ithaca, New York, so Cornell University's there, and I can't imagine it's cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. They were all graduating. They wanted to move out and experience the world and go somewhere. So yeah, I mean, you're not going to find many places that are cheaper than Indiana. You know, I don't remember what they paid at the Fat House. I moved in a year and a half later or something. I do remember it was a thing, the more people that lived there, the cheaper the rent was. At one point, I think our rent was $75 a month, and that included the utilities.
Wow.
Which is, But I mean, when you do that, you don't barely have to work to survive, You can ride all the time. But, it was really bizarre how, that whole thing worked out.
That was a really well-known scene and house, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Fat House and Fort Wayne was
Yeah, it was
mid-90s. That was one of the fucking spots on the map for BMX.
Yeah, I mean, in the Midwest, to you guys it's far, but to us, the next biggest city is 2 hours away, or or maybe 3 hours, or you have Columbus, which is 3 hours, Indianapolis, which is hour and a half, Detroit is a couple hours, Chicago is 2.5 hours to the west, and then Rampage is another couple hours past that. So it was and racing is really big at the time. So it's there's always a national, and the Grands are always in Louisville. There's always the Christmas race in Columbus. There's always South Park in Pittsburgh. So there was always all these nationals, and again you'd go everywhere. You'd meet all these people, and they'd all come visit. You'd go to their jumps. We did a lot of back and forth with the Pittsburgh dudes. We got really tight with the Pittsburgh dudes. And it was just dudes that are all on the same page as you.
Like-minded folk.
Yeah.
So Scum was started before 1201.
Yeah. I started in high school doing it.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I loved graphic arts class. I always drawing stuff or whatever you do in graphic arts, you make a mirror, sandblast, and you're painting, and you're doing, you're trying to design shit.
Yeah.
Because you're looking in the magazines, and everyone and their mom has a t-shirt company, and you're or you're reading, again, you're reading BMX Action, Chris Moller's got, every race he takes all these S&M shirts to, and he sells them, and that's how he gets to the next race. And, there's To Be Home Cooked, and there's like...
And there's just cool vibes going out, and they're like, where you're looking for them old mags.
Yeah. So it was just like fun creating stuff, and then at some point you're like, oh, that'd be cool if I could sell it. I even made number plates for a little while too. Like, if I could sell a couple things and like make a few dollars that help me get to the next place, that's cool, So, it just came out of like liking to make stuff,
I didn't know Scum was pre-1201.
Yep. Yeah. So it would have been like 91 probably when I started doing some. Yeah, so that would have been my senior year of high school, I think. Yeah.
So what's the story of like making, like 1201 came from when you was at the Fat House?
Yeah, that's the address of the house. 1201 is the address of the house. 1201 Fairfield Avenue was the address of the house. And that was the whole thing, like, it's totally thanks to Mike Tagg. Like, Mike would come to Fort Wayne, and I think maybe he only spent the first winter there. He would go back to Ithaca for the winters, and he would like snowboard and whatever. But remember when Mike had gone to like the Shimerville contest, and he rode in the box jump contest? He got like second, didn't he? I think maybe Miron won, or I can't remember. He was Mike was our buddy, and he went to this comp, and he just smoked a lot of dudes in the pro class, and we were like, holy shit, So Mike was on a trajectory to like, kind of do it. Like he was killing it. But then he blew out his knee. I don't even remember how he did it, how he blew out his knee. I can't remember if it was a bike thing or a snowboard thing or what. But so that summer of 90, and also too, when those guys, when they lived in Ithaca, they had a public access TV show. It was called WD-40, and that was just like the name of their TV show. And it would be like a live call-in show, and it would just be like bizarre shit, and people would call up and just like scream obscenities at them, or they would prank call people or do whatever, all sorts of weird stuff. It was pretty funny, but so they were like doing this public access show, and then. Right when they moved to Fort Wayne, they went down to the public library, which was like 6 blocks from the Fat House, and they got library cards, and they got access to they could do a public access show there if they wanted. They had access to the cameras and whatever, and they could kind of check them out like you do like a book or something, right? Yeah. So they made a video where they had a little bit of footage from Ithaca, but they shot a lot of stuff in Fort Wayne, and they made the first FBM video called One Footed Dead Sailor. Okay. Which is like this super random video, right? Like just all sorts of shit, but really funny. I
don't think I've seen it. I think it's
super sketchy. It might be on the Anthem 2 disc set as a bonus, but it's really shitty copy. Like it's probably almost impossible to watch. But it had early FBM antics, which is just like typical just mischief making and whatever. But so Crandall and Tagg had made this video when they came to Fort Wayne. So that was 93 to 94 ish or whatever, and then 95 rolls around and Mike blows his knee out, and he still wants to go to all the bike events and hang out and whatever. So he's like, well, if I can't ride, I need to do something. So he bought a video camera. So we're traveling we're getting, stoked on traveling, and we're doing this and like going to Pittsburgh and going to wherever, traveling a bunch. 95, we take a trip to the East Coast with like me, Tagg, Ground Chuck, and Wilbur, Barrick, And Mike just films like a ton, because that's all he has to do. He's hurt. So I'd probably pick up the camera once in a while, but towards the end of that year, Mike is like, he wants to make a video, and he's going to kind of do it separate from Crandall. I don't know if they were like best friends, brothers, love each other to death, hate each other to death. Like, it's just that love, hate, like, like anyone, you're best friends, and you spend that much time with somebody.
And when you're 19 or whatever it is as well.
So Mike was like, he had all this footage, and he wanted to make a video, and at the time the t-shirt thing was kind of going well for me. Steve Inch was just distroing it through Sandbox, and he had a huge network. I mean, Poor Boy was huge, so So I was doing t-shirts through Steve, and it was actually going well, and that was kind of like my full-time job. I mean, at the time I was still living at my dad's house, and he was out of town for work most of the time. So I didn't have to pay rent or anything, so I could kind of get by on not, I didn't need to make a ton of money. Yeah. But Mike wanted to make this video, and we got to talking, and he was always, he always liked the music that I was listening to. He had some stuff that he liked, but he was always kind of like, oh, what band is this? Or what's that? So he kind of, was listening to Ramones and Cheap Trick and all this stuff. So he enjoyed a lot of the music I was listening to, and we got to talking, and he was like, hey, you want to help me put this video together? Like, and I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. He's like, maybe you can pick some music for it. And then for me, the logical thing was like, oh, well, if you're going to make a video and you want to try and sell it, I mean, I already have this connection with Sandbox. Like, like the t-shirt thing is going pretty well. If you would be into naming it a Scum video, like we could probably get it in some shops and get it in some hands of people, And he was all about it. He's like, yeah, let's do it, because I talked to, I mentioned it to Steve End. He's like, yeah, we can. I mean...
So what was that, the Scum video, 1201?
Yeah, 1201.
1201, okay.
Yeah, so that was, Mike had filmed the majority of it. I probably filmed a little bit helping, but I was like riding, like, cool, let's ride. And I was printing t-shirts all the time too, so I wasn't like wanting to like be the filmer guy,
Yeah.
But we had decided we wanted to put this video together, so, we knew Chris Rye a little bit. We had... Since we would always go to Scrap in the winter in Chicago, skate park, we would go and ride in the winter, and we'd run into Chris and Marco, and the Baco dudes and whatever, they'd be there. So we kind of knew them. We weren't like super best buddies, but like, they were cool. And and we had asked Chris, like, it seems weird that we would ask him, but we were like, hey, can we use your editing equipment? Like, we didn't know him that well. And he was like, yeah, I suppose so. It was really weird to me that now that I think about it, that was extremely nice of him to be like, yeah, if you come to my house, I'll give you guys a crash course on how to edit. It was like 2 high-8 decks, so it wasn't like, we weren't doing some computer editing at the time,
Still super rare for anyone to have that stuff. So
Exactly. So we went, and, they were in Appleton, Wisconsin at the time, and, I think it was probably the Baco. It was a Baco house, so I assume maybe DeGroot and Trimouth were living there too. And they had a Baco jam, so we went out for the jam, and then Chris just shows us how to use this stuff. Probably took half hour or
crash course,
20 minutes crash course, and he was like, yeah, I got it. I have to edit this standard video I'm working on in like 5 days, so just be done before that, And that was Style Cats. He was doing Style Cats. So yeah, we just, and I remember Hallman being there, and they were like, go out filming to wrap up his part, for Style Cats. And, we had seen those guys too, not just at Scrap, but, we saw them at Posh. We saw them at the X Games, which was just the Extreme Games. And, So, like, they knew that we were, like, into it and traveling and, like, and I think too, maybe they had started Tread, so they maybe an issue or two in, and I might have taken out an ad, for t-shirts.
Yeah. All right.
So it's like, okay, cool. Well, these guys are like supporting what we're doing. We're making a magazine. I had taken out like a couple ads in like props, for stuff, and and they were just like super cool. So we went there, and we just hammered it out. We didn't know what we were doing, and like
unreal.
Yeah. It was, and it got well received, and we were totally blown away by the whole thing.
Really, that's one of the like landmark videos of the mid '90s. I think I watched it last week or the week before.
Yeah,
and I was like, I thought it was more impressive now than what it was then, because you can kind of look at it with what people were doing at that time.
Yeah,
the riding in that is advanced.
It's funny though, because
it's rough.
It's rough. But there's also too a lot of just like regular riding, kind of. You know what I mean? There's stuff that's Wilbur and like, but also too like there's contest footage and there's stuff like that. A lot of it is just like some dudes that you ride with, and they're riding at the trails, and then
but
some
that's
good,
relatable and like fun.
Exactly,
that's fun looking.
That's where I think because you stack it up to Roger's Garage at first, it pales in comparison when it comes to the skill level. I think except for a handful of dudes from contests and whatever, or someone with a distinct style like Wilbur.
But there's stuff in there
and upcoming Chris Bennett,
very far forward thinking that are in a different head first. It's like that's far forward thinking as well. But there was stuff that was like done that people could relate to more now on that video than probably what they can to head first because of head first is a certain type
that's
of riding.
It. Is who can relate to what Matt Hoffman's doing because he's light years ahead of everybody. There's only 3 dudes on the planet that are like within Matt's realm of like, oh, okay, I can maybe do. Everyone can have a train over like a 6-pack with their friends at the jumps, and maybe dudes are throwing an X up or whatever.
And Wilbur, like, I wanted to ask you about him because he seemed to have not just him, but there was a few guys in there. There's a few really like. Wow, someone was doing that at that point in time that I looked at, when I last watched it, and it's like, like the mentality of it is different. Do you know what I mean? Like you're watching these videos and they're just pretty straightforward. Like for the most part, like if you picked a video from that point in time, it wouldn't have all the progressive stuff that's in 1201.
That's funny to think. I mean, for me, it's like I enjoy the video because it's like a time and a place in my life. But I also, it's like, there's some footage that is a second angle from something that's in Style Cats, or like a Canadian video, like the High Rollers video that Yannick Dubois made, or like you see things. There's some stuff that's just at contests.
Yeah.
So there are other people filming, or was in props, and it's also in 1201, or like. So to me, I feel like it just seems like we just scrapped it together because we were just everywhere, But
when was the last time you watched it though?
Probably not too long ago, actually. With because I'll do that sometimes. I'll be like, like Wilbur, I love going back and like watching some of the stuff, Or
he was one of the guys I was thinking of. Was just like, well, how's this guy riding like this? Like, and he was riding not only like. Far advanced compared to a lot of people. The stuff that he was doing was all fast. He was going and I never noticed that before. Like I never really. It was a different type of riding that he did, so I didn't pay much attention to him back then. But watching it the other day, I was like, "Fuck, he's flying into this shit."
He's really flying. Yeah, but I mean, that was for him. That was the whole Dirt Brothers thing,
Okay.
He had gotten his hands.
That's what it looks like, but it's like kind of like. Morphed it into something new again.
He was from Valparaiso, which was like a couple hours from Fort Wayne, and it's not too far out of Chicago, but it's still like a small place,
Yeah.
And I don't know how he got his hands on some Dirt Brothers stuff, like videos. But I just remember him showing up. I don't even remember how he showed up in Fort Wayne, but he just kind of appeared, and I think he visited a couple weekends and then ended up moving there, and like.
Oh wow.
But he was so. I mean, that guy studied. Ronnie Farmer and Vic Murphy and and then it was just like those dudes. That was his Bible, like the Dirt Bros. He sweated those dudes hard, and that was like 100% like his thing. Like,
was he ever like sponsored by anyone?
No.
Because he had like a little moment in time, didn't he? And but now like he's completely almost forgotten about now. Well, over here anyway, like maybe not there, but I'm surprised.
I mean, he has a lot of people still don't know, like.
He should be one of the names that come up more when people are talking about certain things.
You would think. But yeah, I mean, he was, he was such a character too. Like, he just had this bizarre, like there's a clip in one of the Dirt Brothers videos, and Ronnie Farmer jumps over something and he lands super front end heavy, right? Like, and just as soon as he lands, he starts pedaling and he takes off. But it's like so front end heavy that you almost think he's going to flip over. He's going to crash. And Wilbur just thought that was like stylistically, he thought that was the best thing ever. And he put weights on his forks so that he would like land front wheel first, like on flat, and like he was a strange dude, but
dangerous.
But he loved those guys, and he had the Skyway, the Dirt Brothers frame, the Skyway TA, and. He rode that thing until it actually got stolen from when he went to college. but it was like, it had been broken a million times, had like corrugated steel gussets welded to the head tube.
Okay.
You would see him like break an axle and the rear dropout would bend 90 degrees. He'd bend it back and like keep right, biggest pile of shit bike you've ever seen. And somehow it got stolen. It was locked up and someone stole it, which it wasn't worth the effort.
How long was he sort of prominent on until Fort Wayne sort of disbanded?
Couple of years, yeah. He might have I'm sure he probably took off to college somewhere,
Okay.
I can't distinctly remember him like leaving, but yeah, he wasn't there when like the last probably half a year or a year that I was in Fort Wayne, that me and Gilly and Joe DeGerda were, but yeah, I don't know. He was there for a while and then he kind of disappeared.
Yeah. He did disappear, yeah.
But he's an archaeologist.
Oh, really?
He's an archaeologist. So he would, most dudes you watch, let's say you watch, the first 15 minutes of Ride On or Head First, and you watch that to get psyched to go ride. He would watch like the first 10, 15 minutes of Indiana Jones, and then he would go ride because it would get him so stoked.
Character.
No, total character.
Right.
He's one of those dudes. Words that you can't
describe it.
Yeah.
Where's he live now?
He lives in Washington State, Yakima. Is that right? I can't remember the actual name of the town, but yeah, he skates and he has a son that skates, and he actually has just got on social media recently.
Well, he sounds like he's still cool then, huh?
Yeah, oh, he's awesome. Yeah, I probably saw him like 5 years ago. And visited him, and he's the best.
That's cool, man. Cool stories, huh?
Yeah, Wilbur's the character, dude. Yeah, the T-shirt one is weird, huh? Like the guy that sold me the shirt.
Yeah, that's fucking brilliant.
It's bizarre. It's like
that's like a fucking film or something.
It's really weird, yeah. Like if it weren't for this random ass dude who was trying to make a few extra bucks and like
all this shit might not happen.
Yeah. None of it. Who knows?
Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And then, what about Lights Out? Was you still in Fort Wayne when you made that?
Yeah, I was still in Fort Wayne at that point. Crandall and Tag had moved to Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
So 1201 did decent. I don't know. I can't remember numbers of the video or whatever, but it was well received, and Sandbox, Steve Inge, his distro, sold it, so it could,
And what year was that? 95.
That came out in 95. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's got the first Extreme games in it. So that was 95. Yeah.
It was rare here. It was hard to get here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wondered if because that seems to be everyone knows that video as well. So.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a Scum video.
Yeah.
Did it have, I think I only ever saw copies.
Oh,
did it have Scum on the box?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a photo. It says Scum Clothing, 1201. Jason Stig is doing a turn down on the cover.
I've never seen the cover,
Yeah. He's riding a Soul frame. Remember Soul?
Yeah. No way.
Had the gas tank on it, bully style, the bully hot rod. Yeah, so we had done that video, and it did all right, which was a shock to me and Mike. We thought we might sell 100, 200 copies maybe, and I can't remember what we did, but maybe it was
BMX was on the rebound as well.
I mean, the cool thing with that too is luckily, I think this was a really good thing for us, is that it wasn't and this isn't meant to be a derogatory term, but it wasn't necessarily, it wasn't a freestyle video. There was some contests, freestyle contests and stuff, but it had dudes riding trails and dirt jumper dudes riding dirt jumps.
It was all the scenes that were going around the world in the video, in that area. Do you know what I mean? It was your scene of what, and they all those guys were high level riders, but that's what everyone wanted. At that point, everyone wanted them scenes.
But I think too, what had helped is so at the time, obviously Dance Comp is huge. They're going to all the nationals. They have a huge trailer. They're selling, and they already carry Poor Boy shirts. They carry my shirts, and so you have all these people at a BMX race, and they go to the vendor to buy a video, they're probably not going to buy it first. They're like, well, what can we get a video where the guys are kind of doing some of the dirt jumping or kind of like hitting the jumps, you know, like, so that I think that became a thing, like, you know, and luckily too, like, you know, I kind of knew, you know, one of the guys there that worked at Dan's just from, you know, being in Indiana. You know, Dan's is a company from Indiana. They're southern Indiana, so it's like 4.5 hours from Fort Wayne. But, you know, you see these guys at the races, so you know this guy Frank that worked there, you know, and he enjoyed the video. And when people would come up to the trailer and say, I want to buy a video, what do you recommend? He would probably say, you know, he'd probably say, well, do you want freestyle or do you want like trails or dirt jumping? And, you know, if they said dirt jumping, he'd be like, oh, well, you probably want this video. Or, you know, I remember later Van telling a story, you know, like, I think he went to, maybe it was him, went to like dance or something. I saw it. And he said, do you want like
East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast or West Coast? Yeah. And we were middle of the country, you know, but we had
But you had
Posh
East Coast stuff.
We had Push in there. You know, there was New England. So it was, there was a heavy East Coast representation, you know, so it's like, you know, so I think it's just a lot of racer people, you know, racer kids or, you know, whatever. I think they just kind of, they would buy that. You know, maybe they would buy a video for their kid for Christmas.
It was probably longer than, was it longer than Head First? Was that longer?
Was it longer? I can't recall.
Because Head First, it did have dirt jumping, but it didn't have much, did it?
But a lot of it was like Chad Harrington.
Or mission trails.
Or some mission, a little bit of mission trails. So I think we just got really lucky, you know, like kind of and then, right place, right time, relatable, and like, you know, having a lot of dirt jumping in it, you know. Yeah,
I'd definitely say that the timing was good, and what was going on was really good as well. Like in the BMX scene was flourishing when it. Like, it was really nice then. That Scum the Lights Out was easy. You could get it over here. Like that was the first one I actually liked. Was like, what the fuck's this? And then when I watched it, it was similar. I was like, also not so much West Coast. That was one of the things I noticed about it. It was like,
there was a little tiny bit, but you know, we'd taken our first trip out to the West Coast. You know, me and Gilly and Tag drove out there. We dropped my transmission in the middle of Arizona. Mike was driving my van, and he, hey, dude, the gas pedal, nothing's happening. We're stuck in a shitty little ghost town for like 3 days, you know. It's like, you know, the T-shirts were going good, and then I had some money saved up on the trip, and then, you know,
it's gone.
There goes all the money on a used transmission. You know, but that was eye-opening, going out to California, you know. And at that time, like I said, Crandall and Tag had moved to Dayton. I can't remember why. Like, same time me, Tag, and Gilly went to California, Crandall and Colin Winkleman and Kevin Landis, this guy we called the Pro, they drove out at the same time. So I'm not sure why Mike actually rode with us, but he was like with us. But him and Crandall, they moved to Dayton. So me and Mike weren't like working on a project or anything together, you know. I think they were getting ready to start. They were going to start working together again. They started filming for, you know, maybe it was like, was it Ring of Fire or The Bars Closed? One of those FBM videos. And so, you know, so Mike was doing his own thing, and I even, you know, like I said, I barely filmed 1201. I contributed a little bit, but not much. It wasn't anything substantial. But since the video sold, I was like, well, that was pretty fun putting it together. That was fun editing it. It was fun picking music. People enjoy it. And I'd taken photography in high school for a couple of years, you know. I was always like, you know, nerding out on BMX action, like looking at the photos and the Wendy Osborne photos and Spike photos. And so I always loved the visual side of BMX. It's like, you know, like half the part of it draws you into it. Yeah. You know, obviously BMX action was amazing. So I could like frame up, you know, a shot. I could keep someone in the frame, you know, like I had a bit of experience in photography, and that kind of, you know, somewhat the basics like carry over into video. And I had a roommate, Matt Haynes, who was a skateboarder, and he had I don't even remember what camera it was, but he had a camera, and he's like, he didn't use it at all. And he's like, oh, here, just take my camera. Like, go, you know, use it.
No way.
So I just, I basically got a camera for free. And
that's a good score.
Okay, it was really good. I mean, that was huge.
Yeah.
You know, and so I was still doing the t-shirt stuff, but like we'd go on trips and I was like, you know, doing some filming and, you know, so that was fun. I'll make my own video. I'll just do it on my own, like, you know, and that was, Lights Out was I just filmed that whole year, 96. And at the end of the year, I actually flew down to Fort Worth to Steve Inge's house because he had editing equipment. You know, I didn't want to bother Rye or, you know, they're cranking out a bunch of props videos. And since I had a working relationship with Steve, like, he was like, yeah, come on down. You can use the stuff. You can stay at my house.
Wow, like, cool.
Yeah. So I just went down and probably edited that in about a week and then had another video.
Wow.
Which was like, you know, and that one, I did have some parts because there were people that I was like giving shirts to that are, you know, quote unquote, sponsored on the team, unquote, you know, which means you give them 5 t-shirts twice a year, you know, and some stickers and whatever. But you know, then that was Colin Winkleman and Pat Miller and like Butcher, you know, like those dudes. And so, and Weasel.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's from Boston area.
New England. Yeah. So, you know, and he was someone I'd met at BMX races, you know, like he was doing the same thing. He was going to jumping contests and whatever.
Taj was in that as well quite a bit, wasn't he?
Yeah. Just like a mini ramp session at Shimerville and then like one trail session at 819 Trails.
Yeah, some dusty looking.
Yeah, trails, we did a Kill Yourself jam. We did a few of these Kill Yourself jams. Like, we did one in Fort Wayne, which didn't make it in the video. Maybe it was the year before. But we did it, like me and some of the Push kids organized this.
Okay.
819 was like outside of Pittsburgh. It was Punjab's trails.
Okay.
And Taj showed up there, and so I just got footage of, you know, a bunch of people riding the jam. And then we did, at some point we did a trip we stopped in Bethlehem, and we went to Shimerville, and there was like maybe Taj and
Stuart King.
Taj, Well, does Stuart have much stuff in?
He's got a few clips because.
Oh yeah, Fufanu on the back rail in Shimerville.
Toothpick bar spin and maybe.
I remember he did one at
360 nose pick over the spine.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. So it's kind of hazy, but he was 1201 somewhere. He was at some of the BS contests and stuff. That
might have been on 1201.
But he does have a couple clips in Lights Out. But yeah, so Taj was at this little session just riding a mini ramp, and I'm sure he cringes when he sees all. It's just him just dicking around on a mini ramp, like doing tech stuff, you know. But I hadn't seen much of that stuff in person, so I just put it in the video.
No, isn't that the ice pick to Fufanu?
Yeah.
Oh, that was
which I mean, it is. Yeah. At the time, you don't realize that that's like. Who's doing it?
Because I'd never seen that before. I was like, it went up. Like, I'd only ever seen people go through to ice.
But to me, I'm just a dirt jump nerd, so I'm like, I don't understand what he's doing, how hard that is.
Yeah.
but yeah, that was just a fun video. You know, again, it was just like, if I can do this and make a couple dollars, that helps me keep going to other events or, you know, avoiding a real job and riding more or whatever. I probably still had a real job, but.
What were you doing? Printing?
Yeah, I worked at a t-shirt printer for a few years.
So how big was Scum though? Like, did Scum get bigger after Lights Out, or was it bigger before?
I can't remember if it grew or not. I mean, it must have grown a little bit.
You just kept it at the same level, yeah.
Yeah, I kept it at the same level. I'm trying to think of what year I started like selling stuff to Steve Inge. I met him at a BMX race in Arkansas. Like, I went with Scott Yocolette to a BMX race and just met Steve, and he was cool, and he was already kind of like, you know, selling shirts at ABA races and probably doing all right.
Yeah.
With that, I mean, gaining some popularity, and he was really nice, and he's like, oh, that's cool, I like your shirt. Like,
because he did a lot of the sort of smaller brands.
He was like, if you want help, I can help you distro these and like get them into shops or whatever. I was like, oh my god, that'd be amazing. And and I think maybe not that same year, but he helped out like Crandall, helped him sell some stuff, and Push, like they were selling stuff, and Steve was like carrying
White Trash. That was another brand.
There were some brands I didn't even really know much about, like White Trash and some other stuff. And I was like, I don't know.
I remember seeing their cat.
But I didn't ask him. You know, it's like you're not like chopping it up on the phone all the time. It's not like you're, phone calls are long distance. It costs money. You know, there's no internet at the time. Like you just once in a while, and he would order the shirts and like, Yeah, it was cool though.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, like he did a great job of like without. I mean, that was a huge for me. That was huge. Like him helping me out was like. I mean, it just opens up because Poor Boy was getting really big.
It's huge. Yeah.
So any shop that was getting Poor Boy, he could easily get them to like buy some of my stuff or whatever, which was nice because he could have just been like, I'm just going to sell my own stuff and but yeah, it was great. It really opened up. It really opened up my eyes to be like, oh, you can like be a small guy and like make some stuff and people
make it,
people can get it another part of the country if they want, if they go into a shop and see
or another country.
Yeah, or another country. It was really cool. And the fact that like we made 1201 and we made a few bucks doing it.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's a thing. Like in 95
it wasn't a thing before that though.
That wasn't
there was
like who made money making a bike video.
Yeah.
Eddie probably made some Eddie made some money, but I mean I would be hard pressed to think of many other and I don't know what he did, but obviously that was a great video and people like it was very sought after,
and it was
so he had to have made enough for him to want to keep doing it.
If he made the money, he only made money once a year for like like them videos came out once a year, so yeah.
But it was cool. Like you didn't. I mean, there's in '95, I would have never thought anyone could make any money, not necessarily a living, but even you can make some money making a video, like to get by or help you get by, and that was like eye opening. Like oh cool, like that's at that point I was printing a lot of t-shirts, and I'm like down in the basement in the fat house printing shirts, and I'm like everyone's going on the trails and I'm like printing shirts, which I'm not complaining. It was like cool, but then to be able to make money going to the events or going to visit friends and film yourself and them and your buddies and the whole scene, and then you can like actually make some money doing that's more fun than sitting in a basement printing t-shirts, which about. I mean, but it was fun. It's cool. It's cool like making something, like having an idea and then figuring out how to make it, and then you mail it off to the distributor, and then you go to a race, and then 7-8 hours away, you see someone wearing the shirt you made in the basement. Cool, like that's wild, And I've never been the type of person that's gonna like walk around and be like, hey, you want to buy a T-shirt? You want to buy? I just
awkward.
I'm not a salesman. It's.
That was a thing for a lot of people. Like people think,
Oh, and Crandall was amazing at it. He would. Hey, fuckface, buy this shirt, and kids would, I mean, obviously, Crandall, like, they would probably stoked that he insulted them and called them a name, but they would do it, like, he was really good at it.
If that's what you got to do, man, that's what you got. It's cool, isn't it? But same for me. It's kind of like awkwardly do it.
Yeah, so the video thing was way more fun than the t-shirt thing.
And how do you end up moving from Fort Wayne? That you went from Fort Wayne to Bethlehem. Mm-hmm. So how's that connection with Joe and Taj happen?
There really wasn't that much of a connection. We had, I think, I didn't really know Taj like before moving to Bethlehem. I filmed him ride a mini ramp once with some dudes, but it's like I'm not like having a real conversation with him or like hanging out. You're in a loud skate park, whatever. We were from kind of the same area because he was from Michigan, but we didn't really see each other or like run into each other too often, and so I didn't know Taj, but I had met Joe. I remember one time there was like I can't remember if it was like one of the BS contests at Scrap or if it was a different contest at Scrap. But Joe was there with some dudes and he was judging the event and I rode in like the amateur thing. Okay. So I think at some point I had talked to him for a few minutes and like just whatever, but I didn't like really know. I didn't know he was like Joe Rich, like, upcoming like super badass bike rider, But so that would have been like 90, that would have been at the end of 96. Crandall and Tag had moved away. They moved to Dayton. So they were only in Fort Wayne a couple of years, but I can't remember why they were like, maybe they were just restless and they wanted to like check out a new place or whatever. But so it was me and Gilly and a few other dudes. Joe DeGurda we were still living at the Fat House, and for some reason, those guys had all moved away from their home, and they had kind of experienced a new city, and like, you know, you grow when you get out of your comfort zone, and you have to like sink or swim and do all that, you know. And I think I was kind of starting to feel that way a little bit. You know, we had a good scene in Fort Wayne, but you know, it's like peaks and valleys, and I think, you know, maybe there weren't as many dudes riding there, as many people visiting as had before, or maybe they were. I don't know, but I had just kind of gotten an idea or the bug that I wanted to like move, that I wanted to like go somewhere else, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like there was this. I mean, we had visited Bethlehem in '95 and again in '96, and like. How could you couldn't? It was just, as far as BMX was concerned, it was kind of like the center of the universe.
Yeah. It was
getting to me, you know,
ridiculous. Yeah.
And I think at some point in '96, the fall of '96 too, the standard dudes had done like a little road trip, and they came through Fort Wayne, and they rode the jumps, and Joe was there. You know, it was Joe and maybe Rick and Hallman, a couple other dudes I can't remember, but. So we got to hang out with Joe, you know, he'd ride our jumps and stuff. So I kind of knew him then, but I had gotten this idea, I kind of want to move, you know, and it's like, if I'm going to go anywhere, it's going to be Bethlehem, you know, like the place is crazy. Like so many good riders, there's so many sets of trails, you know, it just seemed like kind of a logical thing for, you know, if you're wanting to ride, like, okay, cool, there's a lot of stuff going on out there. So we kind of gotten the wheels in motion. I told Gilly, I said, I'm gonna leave, you know, like I'm gonna go to Bethlehem, and of course he's like, you know, he's like the main dude at the trails in Fort Wayne. He's the dude. He's really the one putting in all. I mean, he's a workhorse, and he just that's who he is. He goes down to the jumps to relax. He builds jumps, and you know. So you can go down there and help once in a while, you know, but like he's the dude that's in charge, and it's like, and he's that's his turf, you know. And I think he was just kind of like, oh wow, it'd be cool to go somewhere where there's like a bunch of dudes building, you know, and there's in Fort Wayne, there's only one set of trails, really. There might have been a couple other little places with jumps, but you know, you go to Bethlehem and it's like there's. You know, it's posh, and there's I don't even remember a black track, and there's, you know, all these different sets of trails.
Ones, wasn't there?
They're kind of everywhere, you know. And you know, Gilly was like all about that. Like he lived and breathed, you know, building jumps, and that was like his shit. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go too, you know. And then Joe DeGurda was like, oh, if you guys are gonna go, I'm gonna go, you know, type thing. And so we started asking around, you know. Maybe the real, you know, like I had met Joe, but I think the real connection was maybe like Hallman or someone, you know. It's like he grew up there, so we were probably asking around, you know. I can't remember if Chris had moved back before me, but he eventually like kind of moved back to Bethlehem for a while, and we asked around, just like, you know, Superdome's full, like, you know, does anyone have a room for rent? And Taj had a room, like he lived really close to the Superdome, a couple blocks away, and he had an apartment, and I think there was maybe it was a 3-bedroom, and 2 of the rooms were open.
Okay.
And I was like, I would be down to, you know, I'd be down to rent one of those rooms just because I needed a place. And then Gilly and Joe, I think both, maybe they must have shared a room, because I
remember that place. I
remember having my own room. It was like a second story. I think when I got there, Big Ed was like there for a while, and like, but it was basically just to like, hey, I need a room. Who's renting a room? Oh, well, Taj just, you know, has a room that just became open, and he was willing to like. I think I called, and he was like, if you want the room, even though I didn't really know him, but he. You know, BMXers. Okay. Guy, I mean, at that point in time, that's probably like all you need, you know. Yeah. Oh shit, I got to rent out a room. Well, there's a BMXer that probably wants it, you know, or whatever. So he was like, I got a room, I'll rent it. So kind of just like did that, took a chance on it, and
wow.
And
Did you move there like with the intention of making a video, or
no, there wasn't an intention to make a video. It was probably like
you just moved there to go.
I'll move there to ride and do a thing, and but of course it was like, well, I got a camera, so I think at that point we'd done 1201 and it did well, and I made Lights Out and that did okay. Oh, I'll just make it,
make another one.
Yeah, why wouldn't I make another video? They're fun.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. There was no master plan or anything.
Yeah.
But we started riding at Posh, like that's where we rode. We were like, I don't want to be like I was a Posh local, but that's where we were riding every day. And Gilly was like, he was like Posh.
Yeah.
And of course it's just like badass place and sick dudes riding it all the time. So so we were just down there riding all the time and had a camera and hey, is it okay? Is anyone is it cool? Yeah, I think at that point in time it hadn't gotten to the like kind of the trail salt and the video thing.
Okay, it was pretty.
I think that was probably coming. Not it was probably on its way.
Yeah.
Or it was going to happen within a couple of years or something. But at that point there weren't that many people making videos.
Yeah, there was only, you'd have been one person down there.
If you came through, you were probably like, Little Devil or like, it was not like a bunch of people were showing up at Posh to like film, Posh. So it was like, me and Gilly'd go down there and we'd be there riding. And then towards the end of the day, I'll pull the camera out for a little bit and film some dudes riding. Unless something was like going down, but nothing, it was most of that riding is just like, just daily sessions, there would be times when some people would come into town, like Stuart, or Robbie or whoever, and then it would be kind of a session's going off, and then you'd be like, okay, I should pull the camera out because these dudes are like really killing it. But there was never like a predetermined like
we're gonna go there and we're gonna get this.
Yeah, exactly. It was just what we were doing.
Natural as fuck. Yeah. Amazing. So you stopped doing Scum like.
Pretty much, like I think that was probably the last year I did it. Was like when I was 97 in Bethlehem, because at that point, I had a 4-color 4-station rotary printing press at my house in Indiana that I bought, and it was big. It's big.
Yeah,
you can't. Hey, I'm gonna move into your apartment, and I'm gonna bring a printing press. At that point, it was like
and inks. And
I think I was like, kind of. I had a friend in Boston who wanted to buy the printing press, and he was like, oh, well, if you need shirts made, I can just make them for you. So I was like, okay, yeah. And it was just an easy way for me to kind of get this thing out of my hair. And like, I was like, I don't know if I was consciously doing it, but like, again, the video filming was a lot more fun than printing the shirts.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm going to gravitate towards the thing that's more fun to do, Yeah. So, okay, well, if I need some shirts, my buddy will print them and I'll have a video camera that doesn't take up any space in the apartment, so it was kind of just like a natural progression.
Yeah, man. And when did you come up with the name Anthem?
I don't even really remember. I don't think there was anything that was like. There wasn't anything that I named it after, or there was at one point. There's just something to me that was like
the sound of it.
Yeah. There's the. An anthem is like a song or a soundtrack. Not a soundtrack, but it's like a tune or something that has a meaning, And for me, like making the videos and enjoying music so much, that was a huge part of making the videos. Was like putting the kind of music I want to put in the videos, So it's kind of like this is like an anthem to like our lifestyle or whatever, the punk music or hardcore or whatever kind of goes hand in hand with like what we're doing, at least in our eyes, maybe not in like a true punker or a true hardcore guy's eyes, BMX isn't like the first thing they think of when they hear the music, but music is so powerful and it goes,
the noise is similar to the act, I think. So,
aggressive and powerful fast, and aggressive and fast and
meaningful,
so to me, I thought that was kind of like, I'd probably seen the word anthem on something and I was like, I don't know. It just kind of clicked a little bit. Oh, it's like an anthem. It's like the music that gets you. Yeah, because you watch it's a way to share the things that you love, the writing and the music, I'm watching Head First, and then I love Jawbreaker, and I love Fugazi, and you like, it's like when you discover something that you're like really into, and you kind of want to share it with other people.
Okay, yeah.
You know, it's like it's a way to do that. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna make this bike video, but I'm also gonna make all these people listen to this music that I think is good music and is worth listening to and sharing, and whether they like it or not, of course they can turn the TV down, but
I remember when it came out, and I was like, Anthem, weird name. I distinctly remember that.
Mm-hmm. And also too, it was kind of like doing the t-shirts, it's like, it was kind of fun and just silly, and it's like all cartoony and whatever. And I was like kind of not wanting to have do anything with like an image like that anymore. It's you want something kind of cooler, and you're like a little less childish or whatever, like it was fun and it had its place, but you're like, it's the same thing when your musical tastes change a little bit. You're listening to some punk and some of it's kind of poppy or whatever, and then you start listening to some of the heavier stuff. And you start listening to some hardcore, and you just like, it just has like a, I don't know.
You evolve like anything else.
Yeah. But there was no huge meaning behind the name.
Okay.
I just thought it sounded cool.
And what about the black and white theme? Because it was all black and white.
Yeah, it was all black and white.
The cassette was white, right?
Yeah, the cassette was white, yeah. There were like a couple influences on that. I think at that point too, I had gotten a new camera, and it had, it had like these different modes you could film in, and there was a black and white mode, and I think I had experimented with that a little bit and just thought it was kind of cool and played with it. But there were also a few elements that, like, even going back to 1201, you can see the influence, like the Paul Peralta video, Public Domain. Yeah, there's that McRat song, the very first song in 1201. It was in this Paul Peralta video, years earlier, and I love the song. But there's like, it starts out with kind of like a film montage, and there is some black and white in that. Okay. So that's kind of like,
Is that the Ray Barbie bit in there?
Yeah, Ray Barbie.
I remember it somehow,
yeah. So I mean, really, if you can say I was inspired by it, but I was kind of biting the style a little bit. Like 1201, the first clips are black and white, and it's that same song that's playing. And then when the song really kicks in, it turns to color.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of, I think that's kind of what they did in that Public Domain video. But I was also, and I wasn't never really huge on like skateboarding. I skated a little bit. Like at one point when I was like a senior, I think my bike got stolen, and I worked at a skate park in Fort Wayne. I skated every day for a couple months or whatever. When I got a bike, okay, whatever. But I hung out with, before Crandall and those guys moved to Fort Wayne, most of my friends in high school were skateboarders. So you ride with mostly skateboarders, and you would get some music from those videos and some inspiration and whatever, So that was a little bit of that was like, the black and white thing. There's also a video at the time, that year, 97, Eastern Exposure 3. It was a skate video. It was an East Coast video. And I believe it was all black and white, maybe.
Oh, okay.
So I was just like, I was watching something that was black and white. I was like filming in black and white. And it just, the black and white, it's kind of an equalizer when you want some cohesion in your video. Like, you don't have like, the colors are off if there's a different gives you some footage from a different camera or whatever, but I just love the simplicity of it too. It's like, I don't know, it's like
it's good. It's good.
It's good. Like, it's like I love the idea too of like, someone sees the video, they know almost instantly what video it is, because it doesn't look like every other video, you know. But that also goes back to these couple years of photography in high school. There was a black and white photography class.
All right.
And it was the whole thing, like, we're developing the film ourselves, we're making the prints ourselves in the dark room. And I had, most of my subject matter was BMXers. So those couple of years in high school, I was shooting all this black and white photography, and I just liked it, especially, in the world of BMX. you know, there's some neon and there's some this and that, and like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Which it's like, that isn't always like, it doesn't always withstand the test of time. Or always,
okay.
You know,
That's true.
I mean, let's be honest. You know, freestyle, you were, and racing, there was an onslaught of hot pink bikes and neon yellow bikes, and I just, you know, I just enjoyed the black and white, making it from, you know, doing the prints and developing the film and all that yourself it was like a really cool thing that I had a love for black and white photography. So, I can make a video and it's kind of like, it's kind of like moving photographs of it, you know? So, but that was like a cool thing. That was like taking that photography class in high school was something that really I enjoyed, just making stuff, you know. And
I like a black and white photo as well.
Yeah. And I graduated and I didn't have a dark room then, and a camera broke. So it's like that whole, you know, you had a few years where you weren't really, you know, maybe you have art, you can like express yourself artistically through like some t-shirts or some drawings or whatever. But I liked, you know, having a subject matter, photography.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, again, looking at BMX Action and looking at all these magazines, you're like, just the visual side of BMX is fucking cool.
Yeah, it is.
So if you can create something that's like, oh, wow. We had some good riders in Fort Wayne. They guys, good dirt jumpers. So you take photos of them and you're like, damn, this photo is cool. And they're, wow, I'm going to send that photo you took of me. Yeah. So,
and it brings, it's cool things bring other cool things, don't they? Like reaction that is,
So that was the black and white thing. And,
and how did you pick who you wanted in the video first, or it sounds like you just filmed it.
It's funny because I just filmed it, and then I think at the point where I was maybe like, I just filmed it, and there was no intention really to have like a writer's sections, but I'm living with Taj, we're riding with Joe, we're riding with Stauffer.
Yeah.
You know, like we go to Pittsburgh, who are we riding with? Ground Chuck and Punjab and Stig. And those are the guys in the video. You know, it's like it was never planned, but when you're riding with dudes that are badass bike riders and you just pull the camera out and you film it, you're gonna get badass bike riding. And I just thought, oh, well, man, I got a lot of stuff of Isaac. I could, you know, okay, well, I did parts in the last video, Lights Out. Those were all guys that were like, quote unquote, scum team riders, you know, but this time it was just like, I'm filming almost everything in Pennsylvania. These guys all live in Pennsylvania. And that was kind of like the concept, like, oh, but, you know, by default, it's just a Pennsylvania video mostly. And that was kind of the idea. It was like, you know, I didn't think about it, but towards like the second half or whatever, I'm like, okay, well, how can I kind of tie this all together? Like, what's something, you know, that you can like say, hey, what's this video about? Well, it's about all these guys riding jumps in Pennsylvania.
Cool,
So, I didn't plan on them having parts, but they just did. And it was funny. I feel a little bad about it later, but you know, I'm like, oh, hey, Joe, Taj, I'm gonna be cool. I do parts in this, and I think they were kind of like, at that point, I didn't put any weight on. Oh, someone has to have like, you know, you got to have a good part, you know. And I think they were just like, oh, well, he just filmed us riding, like, you know. So they were both like, well, let's give you a few clips or whatever, you know. So they actually did like, you know, Joe had a tape, and he was like, hey, there's like 5 or 6 things on here, and they were all like pretty good things, you know. So it's like, you know, I didn't mean to accidentally guilt them into like giving me some of their good clips, but I think they had a camera, and they just like, oh, let's just have a camera and we'll have some clips and we'll give it to whoever, maybe their sponsors at the time that wanted something. Or
can you remember what the clips were?
I mean, with Joe, there's like a big, huge, long rail. It was like down the road from Woodward, and he does like his ender is like.
Was it Fufana? Is it the ender?
No, it's like isn't it like the bar spin gap to Feeble and Woodward, like the big. I mean, which those are that's pretty heavy shit.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of forget that, like.
Well, then as well. Like,
I mean, you know, those dudes are killer bike riders, but when you like live with someone and you like ride with them all the time, you kind of forget how good they are. You know, when they want to turn it on. You know.
Yeah.
So they gave me a little bit. Those two specifically. The rest of it was all like, you know, I probably filmed everything for everyone else's part, but like, And I filmed probably like 3/4 of their part, but they probably gave me the last quarter of it that was like, that helped drive it home a little bit. Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm correct in this, but in that you had the Stoffer part and you followed him through middle at Posh.
Yeah.
And the way that was, I don't think I'd seen that before, the way that you put it was the whole line, right?
Yeah.
So before that, I think people just filmed like, this 3 jumps here and then he goes missing.
Yeah.
But you actually pieced together the whole line.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that and being like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, it's funny because I guess I didn't really think about it when I was doing it, but I'm like,
from start to finish.
I was like, the trail, it's real trails.
Yeah.
They're like, he's starting way over here. He's ending way over there. I kind of want to see, like, because I mean, there were probably videos I had seen. I'm like, I didn't get to see him do the whole line.
Yeah.
I would like to see that. And you get a feel for what someone else's spot is like.
Yeah.
Doing that. So I think, I don't know if I purposely set out to do that or if maybe I just had him do that. Hey, stay in the middle, and jump. Yeah. And then maybe I just bounced around for a couple hours, but then at some point while putting it together, I was like, maybe I'll just like put that other angle with this angle and that angle, and you can kind of see what the whole line is. I don't know if it was a conscious effort. I don't really remember.
I remember watching that and being like, that's how you do it. Yeah.
But I mean, especially when it's like a dude like him, and those are his jumps,
exactly.
His spot.
Yeah, excellent. Who had musical battles in that? Did you just pick all them? Tracks.
I feel like I just, I remember Isaac really liking the Rolling Stones.
Okay.
So I think I don't think he picked that song, but I think I said, hey, do you have that? Or I just knew he liked them, so I think I picked that song. But I don't think there were any musical battles because I knew Joe.
Put it all together.
I put it together. Because I knew Joe liked Earth Crisis, right?
Okay.
So it's like, okay. A lot of times I would just try and be like, okay, I know so and so likes this band or this song, and I like that. I try and find a common interest in music and probably go with that. But I mean, I definitely didn't ask Taj for his song because he probably hated it. I
thought that was a weird choice.
And and if I had to pick one song that I didn't, that
would come out.
That would probably it'd be the one that came out. Most of all, because I don't mind the song. It's I can listen to it and be like, okay, I can listen to it. But he probably absolutely hated it, and I'm like, I probably didn't really represent him very well, because he would have picked like Jawbreaker or Shellac or something like that, he wouldn't have picked Shades Apart.
Yeah, I remember that as being a standout. Like, this is a weird fit. Yeah.
I might have been like, I don't know. The song it's like, I am fearless. I think it was maybe a little nod to Taj, like, he had a couple sponsors and he just left them because he didn't like how things were going or whatever. And I just thought, wow, that's pretty.
A mentality.
That's a good mentality to have. Like, not that necessarily, maybe. Not that anyone did anything wrong or whatever, but if he wasn't feeling a situation, he's like, I'm not going to stick around and like, be in a situation that I'm not happy with, and I think maybe that's probably where I was like, I respect his, like, him doing stuff that he, that
he wants to stand by.
Yeah. So that's probably where I thought, this song's perfect,
And who done all the graphics for
the graphics? I mean, I had. Where did the graphics come from? It wasn't that anyone did the graphics as far as like coming up with the font. I had that font that I liked. It's not.
Is that just a font?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just like it was just like a standard.
Okay.
I mean, I'd seen it somewhere, like, and I was just like, I like this like military style looking, stencil, whatever, but. As far as like the gas mask thing, that was like from a chemical warfare book that I had seen, and I just thought the image was like, so striking.
Did you just
I pretty much lifted it.
Put the contrast up and like it was actually.
It was like that. It was. The
like
contrast
that.
was like that. When I
Amazing.
seen it. Yeah.
And did you put the VHS cover together?
No, Chris Allman did that for me because he had some experience. He lived with the props dudes and did did tread.
Yeah.
So,
of course. Yeah.
So he was like the go-to graphics guy. The photos, I had shot the photos.
That was your picture.
Yeah, I did. I did at some point get my hands on another camera, and used it a little bit that summer. We went to a couple jams. It's funny because it's a Pennsylvania video, whatever. That shot of Stauffer is at Baker's Acres. It's in New York, so it's not even Pennsylvania. There's a photo of Posh on the back, and I took that too. But yeah, I had gotten a couple rolls of film after getting my hands on this camera and just shot a bunch, and that was Stauffer was one of the dudes that I shot
that's
with
a really nice cover,
And I was like, oh, this photo's sick. This dude's sick.
It works perfect.
I mean, in 1997, who wasn't sweating Stauffer? Like, if you saw that dude ride, you're like, oh,
Yeah, excellent. And where did you go from there? Like, Anthem, it was. Did when it came out, did it become bigger as time went on? Or because it seemed like a big video, right? When it came out, it was one of the ones that people talked about and people had, but it seemed to just keep going. It built a following after the 2 years that it came out or something.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, okay, so 1997, we're living in Bethlehem. I'm filming Joe and Taj, right? Well, we moved to Austin in the end of 97.
Okay.
So we're right there in 98 Austin. January, Road Fools 1 happens in Austin, right?
Yeah.
So that's those videos come out Anthem came out a few months before Road Fools did.
Yeah.
But it's after Road Fools came out, who didn't know who Joe and Taj was? Who didn't sweat those guys? Yeah. It was kind of a phenomenon, those dudes exploded into the stratosphere. And everybody sweated them.
Everything was getting bigger as well, wasn't it? Always.
Yeah.
Even though it's a short period of time. But go on. Sorry.
So I consider that just a small video, but the time it came out, the dudes who were in it, and Chris Stauffer, when we started filming, not many people knew who Stauffer was,
Yeah.
So it's you have a video where you have a guy like Stauffer is kind of being seen for the first time, and people are sweating him, and you have Joe and Taj are in it. So it's just you have these names that people are at that point in time, if something came out with Joe and Taj, people wanted to watch it or see it, But also the Road Full stuff came out and all that. So it's, there were a lot of other videos that came out at that time. I can't really understand or have a reason for it getting more popular over time, I guess just maybe it was dirt jumping, and it was something that was outside of the realm of X Games and all these contests and and even props, and it looked different. And I don't want to be it's more hardcore, but
you're right.
But the people that loved it, and that I don't know. I guess maybe they just They loved it. And they wanted to share it.
Following that's rare, right? For a film to build a following after its initial release,
it's kind of weird,
super rare,
but I don't know if it was it wasn't flashy, it wasn't the black and white. It's basic, and maybe if people saw it at a bike shop, it's a black and white cover. Maybe it wasn't, so maybe there wasn't an initial maybe it was just a slow burn,
distinct as can be.
Distinct, just something that looked different than most of the stuff that was out there. But maybe it's because a lot of the dudes that were into that simplistic riding at the jumps, they just kept riding for a long. They're just still in it. So maybe it's maybe they're just they just happen to still be around.
Yeah,
and if it was influential to them or inspired them in some capacity, then they would tell other like-minded individuals, you got to watch this.
Perfect imagery as well. The imagery is so spot on for what them people want to do as well.
Kind of, yeah.
It goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then so you moved to Austin. And what were you doing when you got to Austin then?
I wasn't really doing anything. so we were selling the Anthem video, but it was like doing.
Who was selling it?
That was still Steve Inge.
Oh, Steve
Inge, that was still Steve Inge. Yeah. So it was still Poor Boy, Sandbox Distribution. I don't know for sure, but maybe at that point, maybe the popularity of Poor Boy, maybe it was like starting to wane. Maybe it was starting to, I don't know if wane, but maybe it was just like becoming not as popular as it was. It's like everything, right?
Of course.
Things go through cycles, so it's like at some point, people are probably like, oh well, I want, like we bought, Steve was doing, me and him were doing stuff in the same vein. It's like cartoony, he's drawing like all sorts of shit, like he's an artist, he's into that stuff, but at some point, you probably get kids that are growing up and they kind of like, oh, I want something that looks tougher, like UGP, or not UGP being tougher, but like more, more
what they're into at that point. No, I totally agree.
So, and Steve was like, he was probably getting burned out on he was working his ass off, and they're selling
they a lot
of stuff, and it was huge, and it's just hard to sometimes. It's we've seen it before with other clothing brands and stuff. Sometimes it turns into a monster, and then it's like hard to keep up with what you do, with what you're doing. But I don't know. And two, with not too long after that, I think he started kind of getting into the bike stuff. He did Mutiny. But I guess he was he was doing the King stuff with Stewart a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Before that, but he that was like his next thing was like the bike company thing. That's like no small task, and I'm sure you're going out on a limb with that stuff. So I don't know if it was just tastes were changing, and he was kind of changing, but I think at some point it's kind of started like shrinking a little bit. So it's like I don't and again maybe that was more of like a niche target audience for Anthem than it was for 1201 and Lights Out, Again, it's not flashy, it's not colorful, it's not like if you're a kid, it's probably not grabbing your attention at the bike shop, maybe if you're an older dude it was, but so maybe we didn't even sell as many copies, I don't remember really, but moving to Austin, I still had a little bit of money coming in from the video, and we just did some Anthem shirts, sold that stuff. But I didn't really have like an income. I was kind of like, it's weird. I was kind of like beach bumming it for a little bit. I had some credit cards, and I was just kind of like, I was living cheaply. But it's like, you get to Austin and you're like, oh wow, it's, we're going to Veggie Heaven, then we're going to Sound Exchange Records. And it's like, I was like spending money, but I didn't have much money coming in, and I wasn't doing it. I kind of got lost interest in doing the t-shirt thing, So it's like, okay, I have a camera, and I did a video, and I'm making a few bucks from it, but I'm not really making enough to like live off of. But everything was so new in Austin, and everyone's riding all the time, and you're kind of into that. You're just like immersed in it, and it's fun. And it's not fun going out and having to get a job. So I probably. I made a few bucks with the t-shirts, but I was doing stuff like I was like selling plasma once in a while.
No.
And but the thing that came with that, and it was never planned or anything, was like, I would go into Trent, that's the bike shop, and become friends with Tina and Tom. And then at some point they were like, we want to make a video, and there was no one else locally really making many videos, and I think they enjoyed the videos I had made prior, and they were like, hey, you want to do a video for us? So I did a trend video in 1999.
I remember it,
which was fun. It was cool. And at that same point, probably that same year, I had gotten asked to help film Joe and Taj a little bit for Fox, because they had done like the Expendable video, and they were getting ready to start another one, and they sent me a camera, and they're like, oh, well, you can film for a week and have a day rate, we'll pay our day rate, which is, for at that point, holy shit, a day rate, wow, And that might have been like $100 a day or $150 a day, and that was for me. That was
good. Yeah,
substantial. You know, I'm like, oh, I'm paying.
I didn't know you filmed on that video. Yeah,
I mean, I didn't really film much, and I don't think they really used much that I filmed because you know, the first one there's a lot of film footage, and they have like a big budget to like, you know, have like real film guys and whatever. So they just kind of got some like, you know, video camcorder stuff for me. Like they didn't end up using much of it. I think I still have some of the tapes actually. Oh, wow. I might have some like Paul Buchanan stuff on.
Wow.
But yeah, but I got a day, you know, I'd get a day rate once in a while, and it was like mind blowing, like life changing for me. Well, I can make $150 a day. That's my rent for the whole month. Or I'm sleeping in a shitty little. I'm not even sleeping in a room. We had like Joe and Taj had an apartment, and I just slept in like this little dining room thing.
Okay.
And it was just big enough for like a table and a couple chairs, you know. So it was like definitely wasn't a room, but I was you know, living on, you know, I didn't need to come up with rent money.
Yeah.
Like, you know, a substantial amount
real
of
life,
rent money.
Yeah.
But that was cool. So, you know, just kind of getting into that stuff, and then those guys having like a couple opportunities like for me. Like,
and how long did that carry on? Like you just kind of floating, really?
Yeah, I mean, right around after that trend video came out in '99, I had I don't even remember ever even having a real job in Austin. Now that I think about it, which is weird.
That's amazing.
I don't know how I pulled that off. I must have been just like scraping together shit left and right, and probably I did kind of live off my credit cards a little bit, which I hate to admit, but I think at some point, like I had just kind of like, you know, your credit card bills are kind of stacking up, and you're like paying the minimum payment, but then. So then the next year is when props work started coming, which was like, that was what really changed everything for me, you know.
So that was 2000, yeah?
Yeah, that was 2000. I was in Ithaca, New York, visiting Crandall, and it was when they were doing whichever Road Fools that was that came to Ithaca. It was like maybe Road Fools 3.
3, maybe, yeah.
I think it was 3, and they were at Kelly Baker's and whatever. So we're all hanging out, and I know Chris and Marco a little bit, you know, and they're just talking about the trip, the Road Fools trip, and how they were having to miss like a DK dirt circuit in Pittsburgh because they were on this trip. And I can't remember if I volunteered or if one of them just said, "Hey, would you want to film that for us? Like, if we'll get you a bus ticket to go film this contest, would you want to do that?" And I was like, "Yes, I would definitely do that. Like, you're going to pay me to go film."
And you filmed that dirt circuit?
So I filmed, I took a bus to Pittsburgh, Greyhound bus, and I filmed a DK dirt circuit.
No way. Well, that's not the DK dirt circuit with the Stoffer Flatty?
No, that was like...
Who filmed that?
That must have been Rye or Marco, I think, yeah. I don't think I was even at that event.
We was debating this a few weeks ago. Is that the best Flatty ever filmed?
It's pretty close, man. If it isn't, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
But... So anyways, I filmed this contest for them, and it was fun, and it was easy, and you know, I probably like, I'm kind of like the guy, if you give me an opportunity, I don't want to fuck it up. So I probably filmed way more than I should have filmed.
You came back with tons.
I gave them tons of footage and like funny stuff for the credits and all this, you know, just because just documenting stuff was fun to have a reason to do it. And I think they were like, "Oh, wow, you did like a pretty good job covering this. Like, we've got a lot of great footage. You know, do you want to film something for the next issue?" You know?
No way.
And it progressed pretty quick. I think it might have gone from like the one contest and one issue to maybe the next issue filming 2 or 3 segments.
All right.
I went to Denver. They were like, "Hey, you want to do like a scene report?" Oh, wow, okay, yeah. Like, I took a Greyhound to Denver, filmed a scene report. That was the first time I'd ever seen anyone ride down a handrail. Duncan Gore did it in the rain on like a 9-stair rail. Crazy.
Yeah.
You know, but it was like I stayed at the Pusher House and like just filmed BMX for like 10 days or 2 weeks or however long I was out there. And, you know, again, filmed a ton of stuff, and it was like a really long segment in the issue. And I mean, after that, it was basically them being like, "Hey, if you want to film something, we would love to have you film something." You know, they were overloaded. They were doing Road Fools, and they're doing
Yeah,
they're doing
out at that point.
Oh yeah, it was like they were putting out a lot of stuff, so they were overwhelmed, and they're like, yeah, we need as much help as we can get with the issues, and if you're dependable, like we would love to have you do it.
Oh, excellent.
So for me that was like life changing. Oh shit, now I can pay my bills.
Yeah,
and I'm doing it by BMX stuff, and it was just like it opened up that like world of travel, like, oh, you're gonna pay me to go somewhere, you're gonna send me there, you're gonna cover my travel and give me some food money, and it progressed, like, and quickly it was like, okay, you want a better camera, like, Chris is about to get a new camera, if you want to, he'll sell you his old one really cheap, and you can just pay it off over time and whatever, with work.
Yeah.
So they made it
really useful.
Yeah, they made it so easy for me. And it was like, it really was like, none of it seemed like work. It wasn't a chore. It was like, before too long too, it was like, okay, you want to edit this stuff? Come to Chris's house. They fly me to Wisconsin. I'm like staying at Chris Rye's house. He's like showing me, I didn't own a computer. I didn't know what was, I didn't know what was up with computer, I was like, oh wow, you're going to like, let me edit on computers. And, Chris would be in, we'd be in like rooms right next to each other, and he'd be editing a Road Fools, and I'd be editing a props issue, or
nuts.
Yeah, and it happened really quick. I think they had just had like kind of random people helping, and it was like very hit or miss.
Yeah,
they'd have some segments that just weren't that great, or like it'd be at a comp and there'd be a lot of stuff missing that you had seen, somewhere else, trick wise or whatever, and. I just appreciated getting the opportunity to do it, and they were like psyched to have like dependable help, So it was like it grew really quick, and I mean, it was awesome. It was.
And then, did you end up just taking over props completely, or
no?
Always have a hand in that?
I mean, there was a point. Yeah, I mean, there was a point where like. There would always be like a segment, or someone would contribute or whatever, or maybe Chris would edit one thing, or maybe he was kind of still working on something. They'd go on a Road Fools, and they'd also film like an interview with Brian Castillo, or so it was like there was stuff like that. But I was always usually doing like at a point, it seemed like I was always doing like maybe 3/4 of each issue, or there were some issues, where I would do like the whole thing, or it was always just kind of depended, but But then, I started like eventually going on the Road Fools trips too, and doing that stuff. So I was, and like the passport stuff, that was just kind of me being like, oh wow, these guys want to send me places to do projects, and they were open to me suggesting things,
All right.
And I had seen a 411 Europe, like the skate 411 a Europe issue or something, and I'm like, whoa, these are like all the contests in Europe in the summer. That means someone's going to Europe.
Yeah.
So it was just me being like, where can I go? Like, where will these guys let me go? Hey, can I? What do you think about doing a international video? Yep, go for it.
How many of them did you do?
Three of them, yeah. Which like those ones that we always got a lot of good feedback from people, but it was like kind of harder to sell.
In the US,
kids would be like. They would think, well, I'm never going to go here. Why do I want to see like what's going on there? It was always kind of a hard sell, but it was fun to make, and you always had that connection too, where like, I didn't personally know anyone in the UK, but guess what? 70s distros props, and 70s is putting on an event, and they would love to have it in props. So 70s is going to fly me over.
What was the first time you came to the UK?
That would have been it. The
passport.
The first passport.
Oh, no way.
Or Euroscene. The first one was called Euroscene.
Okay.
So that was 99 or 2000.
Yeah, maybe.
It was 99 or 2000. It might have been 2000.
Okay.
I can't recall. But 2000s, that's when it really,
That's when it took off, yeah.
Yeah, that's when it was like, I was doing a ton of stuff.
Do you know whose idea was Mega Tour?
I mean, it would have been Chris or Marco's. Okay. Probably Marco, I mean, like, at the time, the Road Fools videos were doing great, and I think they're just, like, trying to think...
variation of it.
Yeah, let's do some other variation where we get teams on the road and people on the road, and, like... I mean, in hindsight, it's so much.
Yeah,
so many people, and it's... I mean, it is mega, like... Because some people do just want to watch a ton of bike riding.
Yeah.
Some people really do. Like, it can, I mean, I don't know if like every team was entertaining on the road, necessarily, but it can be a lot. There's a lot of funny stuff in there, but when you're watching a video that's an hour
it goes and
a half or whatever, it can be a bit mind-numbing at some point. But
and the same with was it a rock and roll tour?
Yeah, I mean that was just just like an idea to get people on the road and like, music's
cool, isn't it? Like
music's such a big thing, and let's do it.
The concept seems really good, but it just didn't seem to like.
I mean,
work.
We'll be honest. Like music is such a big part of it, so it's like, I mean, like I love Lucero, and I think that second one is way better than the first one.
Okay.
Because I enjoy the music, and this bike is a pipe bomb. Like I love those bands, But it's Road Fools, regular ones, then the Rock Tour ones, and then Mega Tours. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot to take in, And I mean, it's like if your favorite band puts out 10 albums in a year, you might still like what they're doing, but if they put out a little less, you'd probably enjoy it more. It just, you get desensitized to it.
Fatigued by it.
At a point, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that first Rock Tour, I believe we almost got Avail to play that.
Oh, really?
I think it was we were trying to get Avail, which would have been really cool, but it just didn't pan out.
Yeah.
And then Marco invited some really bad, wannabe, new metal band.
I can't even remember.
It was really bad. The Grayscale, I think, was the name of the band.
Oh, okay.
They were nice guys, but it wasn't the kind of music that any of us wanted to listen to. And I think Marco was like, Marco invited them without asking me or Chris, and we're like, why did you invite these guys? And I think he said, oh, well, they have this many followers on Friendster or whatever. MySpace, exactly. It was like, because I think they had played some weird opening slots on some Warped Tours or something, and they had a ton of followers on MySpace, but it didn't pan out to. He thought, oh, that means a bunch of people are going to come to the show when we do the show at the park. So he's like, that'll make the energy cooler when there's hundreds and hundreds of people there, but it didn't. Turn out that way. No. Didn't turn out that way. So that was a little bit cringy. Nice guys, but not anything I could really stomach.
Work, And then, where do you go from there? Like, we did it. We went on a trip with you, actually, didn't we?
Yeah.
You remember that one?
Oh yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah. That was for issue 50?
Yeah.
Issue 50? What year was that?
That was 2003.
2003, yeah. Yeah.
That was fun, actually.
It was so fun.
It wasn't fun during.
It's definitely way more fun in hindsight. A little less fun when you're worried about people jumping up and down in your camera bag and getting hit with fireworks in the face.
Yeah.
But it's one of the even the day the trip's over, you're like, oh, that was pretty fun. Yeah. Plenty of laughs and
red hot. You remember how hot it was in that van?
In the van. Yeah. Well, how many people do we have in the van?
Yeah. End of July as well.
How many people were in that van, John?
12, maybe.
12 people in a cargo van. The people are on the bikes on the bottom, the luggage on top of the bikes. Cardboard maybe on top of the luggage or
mattresses. I can't
cardboard
remember
mattresses. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how we travelled every time we went to Europe for years.
Yeah.
And then one day we just got busted and they said, no, you can't go like that. And then that was So then we had to pretend to get on the ferry on foot and then all get on. Did we do that on that tour?
No, I don't. Okay. I don't think we did.
Because you used to just be able to
drive
on
like that. Maybe we did. I have such a terrible memory, so I can't. Minute detail like that, I would have a hard time recalling. But yeah, I mean that was really fun trip.
Yeah. Looking back.
Yeah. And then I mean it's no matter how much work or how much of a pain in the ass filming a trip or a section or whatever it is, it's always worth it when you get the video done. And in the credits, the credits. And I mean, it's you're always kind of fooled by it. You're like, oh yeah, look at the video. That we had him.
Yeah.
Fucking blast.
Totally. But I also remember I'd never heard it before. He was like, right, each person needs to get 5 clips a day.
Did I say that?
Yeah, something like that, because it was so slack. And I remember thinking, like you can just work this out by numbers. Like, and I've never thought of that before. Yeah, that makes
probably just like a magical number I pulled from somewhere, hoping to like.
I don't even know if I was
hoping to fool you guys into like, okay, let's try and film. You know, I mean, it's one thing when you're on a trip and you're having fun and you're hoping to get a section out of it, and you know, and you're just freestyling the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're not in the mindset, not that you need to be in the mindset of like, oh, we're trying to film a part here, but like, if you didn't say something like that, someone might do something and you weren't even like holding the camera yet.
Yeah.
Someone might do something sick and you would be like, oh shit, can you do that again so I can film you? So it was more trying to be mindful of like, hey, if we're gonna ride, let's like make sure that I'm filming and we're trying to do something. Because you know, you can have days where nothing works out. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if everyone's like at least has it in their mind, okay, we're going on this trip, but we want to come away with something. Especially if you're trying to like put something out for a brand, you know, and like because you know that helps like perpetuate, you know, like okay, well if we do the trip and it's good, that might help the brand sell a few more things, and then if the brand sells a few more things, they might have money for another trip, and then you can kind of just keep doing that stuff if it works. I mean, that's really like the FBM, you know, mindset is like, you know, at a point when you could make videos and actually sell them, that's what paid for all the trips.
Yeah.
Okay, so then when you go on the trip, you make a video from it, so you can keep doing that, you know.
Self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was definitely a good thing. I thought, like, give you something to aim for. And it's like, oh, this is quite obtainable. Because, like, only 5 clips is not... But back then, it wasn't a lot of clips to get in a day, you know? Like, because stuff was, like, simpler.
Yeah. And it was really... It wasn't like, you need 5 bangers. It was like,
exactly.
Oh, just do 5 things that you enjoy doing, and I'll try and film it in a way, that makes it look cool with the music that we like, and that, you know...
Yeah, that was fucking useful, man.
Yeah, that was really fun.
So, like, at some point we get it to Anthem 2 starts becoming like mentioned. Yeah. And it takes a few years. Right?
Oh yeah, it definitely takes a few years.
What made you want to make Anthem 2?
I mean, and I hate using any kind of, you know, terms, filmmaker or anything that sounds artsy or like uppity or whatever, you know, but you know, making those videos, you know, Lights Out, and then, you know, 12-1, Lights Out, Anthem, it's really fun to put your friends in a video. It's fun to put the music that you want to put in there, you know. Like I did have like a lot of freedom with the prop stuff, but you know, you have to, at some point, you know, you're not going to put like super heavy music and like props all the time. You know, because you're trying to get people to buy the video, you know. So you're more meeting, you know, you're trying to like align something that you enjoy music wise with something a bigger audience might enjoy too, you know. Yeah. You're not going to put some Earth Crisis in a props, but you'll put Get Up Kids in a props. Yeah. You know.
Well, you want to create, like, you want to create your.
I mean, that's the Anthem thing, is you want to. You know, it's like the prop stuff was awesome. I had a lot of freedom, and I did get to choose a lot of people that I wanted to work with. And then there were a lot of people that I didn't really know, or that a distro trip, and you just kind of get thrown in a project with people, and that's great. You know, most of them are cool to work with, but like, you do want to make something with your friends and the writers you want to see, the music you want to hear, and with zero compromise, really, you know. For the most part, zero compromise. Yeah, obviously compromising with the people that are in the video, but so I mean, after the first Anthem got finished, I said, I'll just make like another one next year, you know, like just to whatever. But I moved to Texas. That was a problem. I took myself out of Pennsylvania.
All right.
And I moved to Austin, and it's a great scene and it's cool stuff, but it's not Pennsylvania. So I moved to Texas, and you know, I didn't really think that I could do like an Anthem style video living in Texas, really. And then, you know, then the trend video came along, and then the prop stuff, and then it becomes my job, which is cool. Like, I love it, and I'm stoked on it. It becomes my job, but you do have a lot of limitations with what you can do, and you just want to create something that's your own vision, and make it 100% what you want to see. So I had in my mind that, I want to make another one of these videos. I'll make it happen somehow at some point. Yeah. I just thought it was going to be a lot sooner than it was, Once the the props thing came in, I'm like, I had acquired over that short year and a half or whatever I lived in Austin, I had acquired probably close to $10,000 in my credit card debt. Just kind of living it up. Yeah. I had a whole stack of records and a belly full of like veggie heaven, But I started like paying down my bills with like the prop stuff, and some other gigs came along. Like I did some stuff for Hoffman, and then I actually for Hoffman Bikes filmed for like one of their videos. I didn't edit it or anything, but did a bunch of filming and some trips, and then got asked to help film for the Activision thing for the Matt Hoffman video, or for the video game. And they did like a road trip with like all the people that were in the video game. We did a road trip, and that was like a thing where the first time I ever got paid, like I got paid more than I thought I should, more than I thought would be like a reasonable day rate. And I kind of negotiated it a little bit because I got, how about if we get whatever X amount, and then someone's like, dude, this is for Activision. Don't feel bad negotiating, because it's not. You're not negotiating. It's not Matt's money you're taking. It's Activision's money you're taking. And I said, well, I would like $500 a day, and they're like, okay, you got it.
Oh, why?
And I went on a 10-day trip. So I got paid like $5,000, and that was exactly how much I had left on my credit card bills. Oh, and I took that whole check and I paid off like my credit card bills. And it was like the most freeing feeling ever, And to this day, I still like, I don't buy anything really unless I can pay it off. But it was like, so you're pretty focused on, at that point, it's like, okay, I enjoy this, but it's my career. I'm like, this is how I'm paying all my bills. This is how I'm paying off my debt. And I enjoy it. But I still, at some point, I would love to squeak in this other project. Yeah. It's a passion project. Yeah. Because you don't think it's going to make much money. Again, the first one probably didn't sell that much. It sold some, but it's not like, Did
you think the second one wasn't going to sell many videos? Like, surely not. By this point, where we're rolling forward, it's like, even when the first whispers of that video were coming, it was like, something big's coming,
Yeah, see, I didn't I knew people who would enjoy it. Yeah. And they were like, because I would get, hey, are you gonna make another one? And like, someday I'm gonna. But it had gone on me talking about it for a handful of years before I ever even started, and there were times where I was like, like there was a few people that we talked about having parts in it that they didn't end up, like over the course of a few years, it kind of changed. Like, I think like I was like. And it was weird because I wasn't like necessarily in the same mindset. I'm like, I was friends with Brian Vowell, and I thought he was sick, and I'm like, you want to film a part for that video? Yeah, okay. And then I think like maybe I had asked Ryan Metro on a metal trip or something, and then like maybe Adam Baker at some point was going to be involved too, and like, but then like it still just didn't. I didn't do any. It never happened. Yeah. Because you just gotta like, at some point you have to just like plan a trip and like, and I just, I was just juggling so much prop stuff, and it just, and I'd get these odd jobs. Hey, Jay was like, can you edit the McNeil video? Or someone else asks for this or that, and like, you're just getting these opportunities that are like, oh wow, that's kind of cool. And but it's just pushing this other thing further away, which is fine. That's whatever. Maybe it needs some time. Yeah. But, you need people to like. Really, build up some hype or talk about it for a handful of years, or is that really going to happen? So they're not. Oh, I don't think it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. But the cool thing was that I knew people that had Doyle was always a big he was a guy too. I think when we went on Road Fools 8, he said, he might have talked about how much he enjoyed the first one, and I'm like, oh, well, if I do a second one, you want a part? And he would kind of push me, or at least like keep putting the bug in my ear, let's do that, So when you and then like on a props trip, for Coalition, we go to Salt Lake City, and Mikey's there, and we film a couple clips, and I'm like, hey, I know you like the first one, because he would say Stauffer was his favorite rider, he'd cite Anthem, as like, where he was like exposed to Stauffer and like became a fan. And, I filmed a couple clips of Mikey, and then I'm like, hey, would you want to do a part? Because obviously Mikey is fucking sick, you know? And then, so then you're like, you got a few clips, and then you're like, hey, Doyle, I got a few clips. And it still took a couple years to like really like, I don't remember what there was that like, I probably had gotten I was doing so much props work that I probably did get like pretty burned out on it. And I was like, I really need to like do this project of my own, or else I'm going to just get fully burned out. Like,
how many years from when you said I'm going to do this to when it came out? 5 or something, or more?
Oh, more. I mean, because well,
was there an advert for it at the end of a video? I think it was
the Trend 1999 video.
Anthem too, right?
I had gone to Pittsburgh that summer for a couple days, and I filmed Isaac go ride at the Death Valley trails.
Yeah,
that was one of crazy trails they built after Push got plowed. So I had this little line of him, and that's when I was like, the prop stuff hadn't come along yet, but I had these couple clips of him, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to come back next summer, and I'm going to spend like a month in Pittsburgh, and we'll film I thought, just come together quick and easy. And so those were, so there was a false alarm, like, and it said like coming, like.
But it wasn't a false alarm. It did come.
It did come eventually, but I mean, that was so that video came out in '99, and I made it sound like either the video is going to come out at the end of the summer or the next year. And then all the prop stuff started happening, and then it was like, I mean, I can't remember. I probably filmed the couple Mikey clips. I have a really hard time with the years, but that might have been 2004 or 2005. So then I had those couple clips of him, and then it was still a couple years before like we really started filming, which was probably like 2007 when we maybe because by 2008 we started like
he was cruising.
We started like, okay, this is for real. I just made it a point to like contact all these dudes that I wanted to have a part in the video, and like, okay, if I email these guys,
you got to do it.
We got to do it. Like if they agree, and then the plan was like, if they agree, and then I can maybe hit up their sponsors, and they'll help cover their travel a little bit, and then it's on. Like we got to do it. Like I just have to. At that point, like Walter Perringer started doing a lot of stuff for props, and I was like, okay, I have someone that can help carry this workload, and that'll free me up. It's like, okay, I'm gonna make less money, but I'm just not. I just was gonna get burned out, and I wasn't gonna be happy unless I did
this needs to happen.
It needed to happen. Yeah. So, and the fact that like I had riders of that caliber who were like, let's do it. Like I want to do it, and then their sponsors agreeing to help cover their travel. Like there was no reason that reason to not do it.
Nothing to block it.
So it was just a matter of like, okay, if I just like tell all these people we're going to do it and say we're going to do it, I got to do it. I can't back out of it like, and again, with Walter being able to carry the props workload, that was like the big thing.
So you're still doing bits and pieces for props?
Oh yeah. It was I think we were like, I'll take an issue, you take an issue, Walter. And then like, I think we were kind of on and off. So then, I had some like breaks, where I got a month where I can like do a bunch of Anthem stuff or whatever. But yeah, that was it. So it was probably 2007 into 2007 and beginning 2008 is when like it really started. Like, okay, we're doing this. And
cool.
Making it happen. But yeah, it was like the thing too with like it's an independent video. So, am I going to sell some? I hope I'm going to sell some. Is there a guarantee that I'm going to make my money back on it? No way.
Yeah.
I mean, people were still buying videos a little bit, but it was starting to become that time period where people are like, oh, the internet is like becoming a thing. And, people were buying less and less videos. I mean, Props was selling less and less videos, you know? So it wasn't a guarantee that you're going to like break even or whatever. But the fact that I had the riders, that their sponsors were going to get behind them and help the riders get where I needed them to go, that was huge. Because, okay, I might not make much money, but I'm not going to lose a bunch of money, you know, other than taking time off from my regular job. But that's fine because, you know, I stayed on top of my bills and like, you know, I'm a BMXer, like I try and live pretty cheaply, you know. I'm not like I'm not going to the bar blowing a ton of money, and I don't like fancy cars or any of that shit. So it's like I can get by on like less money, you know, less income, survive.
And so when did you like figure out who you wanted to film? Like what riders were going in like with full parts? Obviously the ones you just mentioned. Doyle, Aiken.
Doyle, Aiken. I mean,
Sean Burns,
like, dudes who I just thought, I was like, man, I love watching these guys ride. And then there was Jägel, who I was always a fan of. He was a mystery to me. I didn't really know him. I think I met him in passing at Kelly Baker's trails once, but like I didn't know the dude. And I was a big fan of his riding, but I knew there was like that. He's like an enigma, you know, like people are, I probably asked Doyle about it, you know, like, hey, what's up with that Jägel dude? And he's like, oh, he's the sickest. But like, people don't know how sick he is. He's just not
myth and legend. Like.
He's not out trying to, you know, he filmed that who brought the dicks part for the faction video. And that was kind of about it.
That's it. Yeah. That's the only footage that I remember seeing. I think he might have been at one of Crandall's jams that I went to, but I'm not even sure if it was him. But if there was no Anthem part, like,
I saw him ride at the La Rev in Binghamton the one time with remember he had a mohawk and like maybe a purple mag, and they had that quarter to quarter, and he did the tire ride on the little piece of angle iron on the wall, which was mind blowing, you know. But I probably didn't even really talk to him then much. But I knew Derek Gerard, and Derek Gerard knew him. You know, and Doyle knew him. And, you know, I probably asked about him, and, you should try emailing him. And it was just email. Like, I just sent him an email out of the blue, and I was like, hey, you know, I think you're a sick rider, and I'm going to do this video, and I would love it if you were into it. And he was just like, he said, yeah. And that was kind of the point where I was like, wow, I have to do this, because this guy is like the chance to document him is like, it's rare. You know, and people love his riding, but they never get to see him. And the fact that Verde had just picked him up. So I probably also talked to Ryan Barrett about it too, who was a big proponent of Jägel and was like, you know, Barrett had something to do with Verde in the beginning, and I think he was like, if you do that, we'll help make it happen. You know, we'll get him to where he wants to go, and they were on board. So I think that was like that was a big one.
If you took that part, if that wasn't ever made, that part, no one would have really seen that guy ride. The world, not just like his immediate friends. You know, like the world wouldn't have seen.
I mean, I think they did get a Verde part out of him at some point, but I mean, I feel like we documented like a mythical creature. You know, like, and
and that's what it looks like as well. Right?
I'm really, that's like one of the things with that video that I'm like happiest about, is that we actually pulled that off, and like, you know, and he was like, he's a wild dude on the bike. Like the second you get to the park, he's probably gonna do the craziest thing. The first 30 seconds he's on his bike, and if you don't get it, and you have to ask him to do it again, it's gonna get exponentially worse with each attempt, until where it's not gonna get pulled, and he's throwing his bike and he's screaming, and you just blew it, because he already did it, you know. But he was so spontaneous, he didn't tell you he was gonna do it. You just kind of had to be ready.
You got on your toes.
Yeah.
And who else was it? That wasn't Jeff Slattery?
Jeff.
A good part.
Jeff, who I didn't really know before. You know, I'd seen a Little Devil video of him riding that Maple Shade Park, his local park. And I was like, wow, this dude's he's killer. And then I saw him ride at Caddy, and I asked him, and he was like into it. Like, I didn't know he rode street. I didn't really, you know, I didn't know anything about him, but I was like really into his style.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this dude seems cool, you know. And then, and Ian, you know, Ian had just started hooking him up with United, and he was down to help. I mean, that really, the fact that the sponsors got behind it and they wanted to see these dudes have parts in this, a part in the video, that really like.
That's where it was getting a lot of momentum and a lot of support from people, and like it was. That's what I meant. It seemed like, oh, we all knew this was going to be huge, you know.
Yeah, it was cool. Like, you know, when people found out, oh, you guys are doing it, you're like doing it. It was like, yeah, it was cool to hear like the excitement. I mean, that got us excited, or me, anyways. You know, like, oh wow, everyone's like. I mean, I knew that crew. It's like.
Yeah, it's a fail safe. Yeah,
it's like I mean, for me, it's like a who's who of who do you want to watch ride a bike? These guys. Yeah, you know, like, and it's just, you know, the whole kind of simplistic riding. You know, like they're you know, except for Mulville, you know, his there's a lot of combos and whatever. Which I love his style, and like it's something different, and it's like different in the video. But a lot of the guys, it's just like, you know, it's real simple bike riding done really well. You know. Yeah.
That's how you wanted it to. Is that as good as you thought it was going to turn out, or is that better than what you thought it was going to turn out?
I mean, I've always been.
Music was better. Music was way better.
Yeah. For me, like I've never been a person that's gone into a project with like much of a vision. You know, like that video, I just like, I know what I like to watch, you know, and that's, I'm just going to film the guys I like, and I'm going to use music that I like, you know, that I like and they like too. And, or hopefully they like, you know, like there's back and forth on the music stuff, you know. Sometimes, again, how I usually try to approach it is like, I know what, you know, spending time with these guys, you know what they like. You know, you're listening to, you know, we're listening to what I like in the van, and I'll let them play what they want to play. And I'm like, okay, he likes these bands, you know, or whatever. So I'll have like an idea, you know, or like a few bands that we can agree on, and then kind of go from there, you know, but, you know, it's not always the way it works out. But it's like, for the most part, I think that I'm lucky in the regard that like Chris Doyle, when I said, hey, I would love it if you rode to this Rush song. I don't know why I hear this song and I like picture it to your part. And he's like, well, I'm not really like a Rush fan. And I'm like, I get it. Not everyone is. A lot of people aren't, you know? But then, you know, then at some point I'll like, well, when we have a decent amount of footage, I'll just throw the clips over the song, and I'll be like, hey, watch this and tell me what you think. If you think it gets the vibe going, you know, and he's, and I did that, and he was like, yeah, I think it works, you know? You know, and sometimes like that, you have to be like, well, you know, they'll be like, do you think it works? And I'm like, I'm into it, you know? Yeah. But there, you know, there are people who are like, even they'll watch that video and they're like, I still fucking hate Rush. I don't, you know, like, it's not going to make a fan out of everybody, you know? But I always try and like either meet someone halfway, or maybe I just like wear them down, you know, to where like for months or 6 months or whatever, I'm like, they hear me being like, this would work really well, or I will do that though. I'll show them the part with the music. If I even have to edit it, I will, you know, like, but usually everyone's like pretty trusting.
I remember there was like drama about the music. We met you guys in Germany.
The Burns one is the Burns thing was probably the.
Was that the one? I can't remember. I just remember that someone was like, "Fucking hell, I was over there." Is it where it was? You think it was Sean Burns?
It might have been, because for a long time. Yeah, I mean, we work on this project for years, you know.
Yeah.
And Sean has music he likes. Yeah. You know, and I have music I like, and some of it overlaps, you know. And Sean is just such a character. You know, that, and he's such a, you know, people are like, this dude's fucking crazy, and he's whatever. And I just, for a while, I had the Anthrax song Madhouse in my brain. I'm like, you know, just like, this is a song about crazy people, you know, this dude's as crazy as they come, like, in a good way. So I had that song that I liked, and I really wanted to use it. And I think maybe I hadn't even told him yet. And I think I was talking to one of his friends, maybe it was Jeff Allen, the photographer, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this song. Maybe I even showed some footage, and I think I hadn't mentioned it to Sean yet.
Yeah.
Maybe he heard that. I could be getting this wrong, but for some reason this is how the story goes in my mind. So I think maybe his friend Jeff or someone was like, hey,
okay. Yeah.
He wants you to write to this Anthrax song, and Sean did not like it, which I get it, you know? And yeah, so he was probably not stoked, and then at some point, I probably just didn't know that he wasn't that stoked on it, and then like at some point he probably was like, thought about it a bunch and was like really bummed. And
so who picked Venom?
Well, that's funny because so even got to the where like, okay, he's not going to write an Anthrax song. That's fine, whatever. Even though I really had my heart set on it, I get it. It's like guitar noodly and like whatever. It's not his thing. I totally get it. So okay, well, what bands do we both enjoy? Well, we both really like Pentagram.
Okay.
So there's the Pentagram song "Sign of the Wolf," and I was like, "This is it. This is the song." He likes Pentagram. I like Pentagram, and I think at one point he was like, "Okay, yeah, I can do this," And then when it gets down to like kind of crunch time to edit the video, or like close to the last couple months or something, I think he was like, I just hear this song and I picture like two potheads in a basement smoking weed. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And he's like, no, I'm not feeling it anymore, So I was like, oh, damn, we got to come up with something else. And then at that point in time, it was like, we didn't have a lot of time left, and I'm like, okay, I think I might have been like, I knew he liked Venom, which was like, for me, that was kind of like, okay, it's like, I knew I didn't want to use like a punk song. Like, I liked a lot of the stuff he listened to, but I didn't really want to put most of that in the video, you know? So I can't remember. I must have been like, you tell me a Venom song that you like, And he said, oh, I like Don't Burn the Witch. And I think he has some like, he might have like a relative that was like maybe involved in like the Salem witch trials or something. Okay. So he had like a personal connection to like liking this song and wanting to use this song, and I was like, I mean, it's Venom. Wow. I can't tell him no. I like Venom. At first, it was like, I think I was like, well, it's definitely not the song I would pick. But then later, we used it, and then later on, I was like, I really do enjoy how it came together. Yeah. So he saw that working better than I saw it working, but I was like, this is his part, Like I can't be like, no, that's not. I like Venom. I like it.
And the end track of the part. The parts.
Yeah. I mean, it's just he has such an energy to him, and it's not a song most people would think of as like a video BMX video part song. I don't think, but it totally works.
Yeah. Yeah, that because I watched it recently. Yeah. So that was unreal. Because it's like edited to like a lot of them.
Yeah.
Whoa, like it's all.
Yeah. It is a great song. The energy is perfect. Yeah. So Sean, I'm sorry for being a pain in the ass. That's probably he's probably the one that was the biggest like.
I'm glad you didn't use Anthrax.
The biggest. I mean, I would still like to at someday. Yeah. Do like a little like a bonus edit and use that song just because it did work really well with the footage. But he would have been so bummed, and I mean he put so much energy into that part. Like he kind of was a driving force because there were sometimes like again I'm working on this project and it's we do some trips and there's some time off because I'm doing prop stuff and it's like so it's very sporadic the filming. And there were a couple times where it really was kind of difficult, and there were ups and downs, and like there were some times where I'm like, is this video are we really gonna be able to pull it off and get it wrapped up? And he was always like, let's do another trip. I'm down to hit the road. Like he was, I mean, because
it's exactly what you need, right? Yeah.
It's funny because you wouldn't think Sean Burns, this gnarly street rider, really wants to have a part in this Anthem video because. I mean, there was very little street riding in the first Anthem video. But he grew up riding jumps, like he grew up in New England, like right around where we filmed a lot of 1201 stuff in New England. And he was, he was 10, 12, 13 years old when these videos came out and they were formative for him, So for him, he had a real connection. He was like, yeah, I want to do this video and let's get on the road and let's do it.
Oh, amazing.
And, and a lot of times when I was filming with Sean, half the time it was just him, just me and him.
No way.
that's to ride the way he rides and do the things he does, and you're like, it's just you and one other guy who's pointing the camera at you. That's got to be hard to get motivated and like really put yourself in a headspace where you want to do this dangerous ass shit, you know, like, and for me, that's, you know, that's inspiring for me because he's motivated, you know, he's like, when you have someone that wants to work on a project,
that's exactly it. That's what you want. Right?
That's exactly what you need. Yeah. Like that is a driving force, and that kept me like, okay, well, fuck, man, this guy's putting his ass on the line, and you know, he's got a lot invested in this. Yeah. Like, we gotta finish it. It has to, you know, we have to be able to complete this video because it means a lot to him, and it means a lot to me. But the fact that it means a lot to him also means a lot to me.
Yeah,
you know, like,
of course.
It's inspiring.
That's exactly what you want. You want that person to be your shotgun guy, you know?
Yeah.
How did you pick what order them sections went in? Because that must have been, like, the main parts must have been impossible to, like...
It was tough. I mean, you know, it's like, you think, okay, well, I got to put Mulville in the middle to break it up. Yeah. You know, to break up the style, you know, the style of writing. Yeah. You know, but I did kind of struggle with that. I knew that Sean would have the last part, you know, because he was just doing all the, you know, I mean, everyone, you know, Doyle does dangerous stuff in his part, you know, like heavy street stuff. But again, Sean was so driven that, like, for me, it made sense. Like, this is the dude who's like really like amped on doing this project, and he's like a driving force, and all the shit's so good. Yeah. And, you know, he was like, he was blown up then too. It's like, okay, people want to see more from this dude. So I knew that would be like the, you know, you kind of keep climbing until you reach the peak, and then, you know, it's like
they was all end parts really when you the main ones, you know, like they was. I wouldn't. Yeah, there's no way I'd have been able to separate them.
I mean,
for all different reasons.
Yeah, for all different reasons. But too, like Sean's ender part, it's in a graveyard. Yeah. He jumps off a mausoleum. It's a crazy, you know, everything about it was just like, you know, you couldn't really have that Venom song in the middle of the video. Because where are you going to go with that for your energy? That's like, it's like at that point, the dude is practically jumping out of the TV screen. You know, you can't really even contain him because he's just like exploding out the TV, you know. But yeah, I don't even remember how you know, what the rhyme or reason was for the order. It was hard to pick. You know, I knew the thought was, okay, well, Yeagel's going to have the first part because people haven't seen him, and he's also doing a bunch of wild shit. You know, he's kind of all over the place. It's like, you know, it's the trails, it's street, it's like crazy, it's a great park. It's a really well-rounded video part, you know, but also the fact that, like, you know, people hadn't seen much from him, so that my idea was like, he's gonna have the first part, you know, and then I really struggled with, like, Aiken. I'm like, where does he go in this video? Like, you know, I just couldn't figure out where I wanted to put it. And then Ryan Navazio was like, I showed him the footage and stuff, and I said, where does this Aiken part go? And he goes, you start out the video with it. Like, it's not even like, I don't even really consider Mikey's part the first part, even though it is. It's just like a natural, like, I don't know, you know. I mean, Mikey's riding is like
superhuman.
Ride. It's exactly. It's superhuman.
It's like, what is going on?
It's kind of like, you know, I think when people are like expecting this video, like his part comes on, and that's what they're a video that's like a part that is just like. It's a master class in trails riding, you know?
Not just trails riding, just riding.
Just riding.
Like, ridiculous.
But it might be more so that, like, his riding embodies everything that the first video had. Yeah, that's what it was. Because I knew that he was like, he would tell me, he's like, yeah, man, I used to watch the first one every day before he's my like buddies went out riding.
The ultimate evolution of the first video.
He's like, he watched those parts in Stauffer, and that's it turned him into kind of, I'm not like trying to like take credit for the rider that Mike Aiken became, but it was those dudes that were huge influences to him. Yeah. And, you know, the fact that, that was a big motivating thing. And even doing the video was like the guys who had been so inspired by the first one.
Yeah.
So for me, that was like, that was
perfect.
Like a culmination of like the whole first video was like this dude, it just kind of goes right from the intro right into the part. It's not even a separation.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's hard to even put into words that part, because it's still, every once a year it still makes the rounds on the internet.
Yeah.
Like it starts, it just starts showing up the part.
So how long is that? 15 years old, that video?
It came out in like December
2010.
2010, yeah. So 15 years.
And it's still shocking when you watch it.
It is still shocking.
You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Incredible. But yeah, I have no idea how I came up with like the order of the video. It's probably just like, it was kind of, I can't even remember half the order really, but I always kind of want, maybe this part's a little more wild, so this part here is a little more stylish, and then this and this part here is a friend section, and then you got marked with all the combos, and then like just even though a lot of the riding is like that, all the dudes are kind of in the same same like vein of riding and same style, somewhere in the in the ballpark.
No, it flows
there
really
still
well,
are certain things that set the sections apart. And you just kind of try and like, you don't want two sections that are kind of similar right next to each other.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Just, I suppose, natural order after you've figured it all out,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. It's fucking mind-blowing, like, to live up to that expectation as well, which was really good.
Yeah, I was really happy. I mean, it was like, it was a whirlwind, that towards the end it was a whirlwind, because we had, we brought all the dudes, except for Mikey was the only one that didn't come to Austin. Like the last 2 weeks of me making the video was like, most of the guys were in Austin and we were trying to like finish up their parts. So we're going out filming every day, and then I come home and I'm editing. I'm probably getting like 3 hours of sleep a night. And like there were points where like we're at a spot and I have my laptop and I have, we're watching the footage on the laptop and like, or editing on the laptop.
High stress, man.
It was high stress. That was the one thing that if I could change anything, I would like have had it wrapped up sooner. Because I didn't even get to really enjoy the premiere. I'm like editing right up to the premiere. Like we did it, the premiere at T1, which was awesome, like perfect place to do it. We get there, I'm still, burning the DVD on my laptop. As we get there, the video's about, has to go on real soon. And it's like, the turnout was amazing. We had a lot of people. It's like Chris Moeller was there. Oh, okay. And I was like, what the fuck, you came to Austin? I mean, maybe he had something else he came to Austin for. I didn't even get to really talk to him much because I was so scrambling. And Matt Hoffman was there and like a ton of people.
Yeah.
It was awesome, but I didn't get to enjoy it really. I was just like frazzled.
Yeah.
So frazzled. But at the end, so you're like, holy shit, did we just do that? Did we like...
Did you want to put that out because of some of the other stuff that was going on in riding at the time was kind of like a bit like slow pace and like...
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that.
That
stuff's fine and like,
of course.
There's a place for everything, but it is nice to be like, okay, well, let's have a video of all dudes that like kind of go fast and like jump shit and like, either keep it real simple or / do gnarly stuff or,
No, I did wonder that because,
or unique,
at that point, there was a lot of slow, like
there definitely was. I mean, that was a big
motivator,
the come up types, which was it's fine. Whatever, it's fine.
Different type of riding.
I just wanted to like have something that people that appreciate the type of riding that was in that video could like. It's a package where you're like, okay, I mean, again, if you're asking me what I want to watch, okay, this, Chris Doyle, Brian Nagel, Clint Reynolds, like. So it was just kind of a, for people that, that you knew would enjoy it.
And then how did you go from like Anthem 2 to like working for SNM, like full time you worked for SNM?
That was it was like, so Anthem 2 came out and then that was like at the tail end of Props. Props was still going on, but it was like, it was really struggling.
It was dwindling,
People weren't really buying DVDs.
YouTube, right?
Yeah, I mean, I got lucky, like, because I feel like at that point in time, people were saying, "Oh, DVDs are going to die, they're going to die," and they were kind of dying. but I think I got really lucky in the fact that was like, you know, it was a niche type, you know.
Yeah, no.
The people that enjoy it, like
the people who want that, they want that.
They wanted it, and they were supporting it, you know, which was like, for me, it was like, oh wow, this is cool. Like we're actually selling some, and I'm not losing money on it, you know, like. So that was really cool. But as soon as that's done, you know, the props thing is like, oh, it's you know, it's fizzling kind of fast, you know. So it was. I mean, when did props cease to exist? I'm trying to. I mean, it had to have maybe been in 2011, 2012.
That's what I was thinking. 2012, yeah.
I mean, I think it was done by something like that, and so maybe 2011. But I've always kind of been lucky in the fact that, like, say, like I have, you know, a props gig or something, and when that kind of goes away, as soon as that goes away, there's another door that like
something
opens.
else.
So that was like, you know, 2010, the fit cult thing happens.
Okay.
Split, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, all those guys go do their thing, cult thing. The fit thing is kind of like, okay, well, you know, gather our thoughts, and like, you know, Van is like
recollect,
like kind of regroup and like figure what, you know, what we want to do from here on out, like what, you know, have a vision or like whatever. And at that point, you know, Van was like very gung ho. He was like, you know, we're gonna make a video. We're gonna make a fit video. It's gonna be sick. I'm gonna bust my ass to make a part, you know. And at the time, I don't know if he said it, but he was kind of like, this kind of be my last like full pull.
Yeah.
You know, going all out, and with the fit thing, Van, or not just the fit thing, but Van had said to me that he, you know, any project he'd ever worked on, for the most part, maybe aside from Criminal Mischief, it was always like, you know, there's a handful of different filmers, or you got to get Brocam, and someone's editing the video, and they're not the person who filmed the footage. And it's always just been kind of patchwork projects, you know, to where like they never really came out the way he wanted them to, or like, or maybe he wasn't, maybe just those circumstances, he was never focused and driven, you know, to like really put out something that he could be super proud of, you know. So although, you know, he had done amazing parts through all his videos or whatever, but he was like, Chris, we got to do a fit video, and I want a filmer that I know can like get the project done, see it through, you know, like and film on go on trips and film stuff for us and edit the video and whatever. So he decided he wanted me to be that guy.
Cool.
Which was awesome, you know. Like obviously I've been friends with Van forever, and he's an incredible rider. You know, and BF was still on the team, and you know there were some dudes, and they were getting some new dudes on that were pretty sick, you know. So we had just kind of, he's like, okay, let's do this. Like they hired me on to do a bunch of fit stuff, you know, and we did the video Holy Fit, the DVD, and that time, you know, I can't remember how long it took us to film that, 2.5 years or something like that. Maybe it came out in 2014, so maybe we started it in 2011 or something. You know, so we're doing road trips. We're saving the really, really crazy stuff for the DVD, but we're also doing product videos and, you know, all the stuff you need for your brand, like, you know, to just keep it going, you know. And so I was doing fit stuff for like a few years, like full bore, you know, like just all fit stuff. You know, there were some other little projects that came in around there too, like I did a dance comp video, you know, which was like, it was a funny thing because like growing up, you know, I lived in Indiana, so dance comp was from Indiana, you know, and everyone was the magazines and all, you know, whatever. And I had ordered some handlebars, like Cyclecraft handlebars. They were like 4-piece, and I got this other. They showed up, and I'm like, they look kind of different, you know, like I couldn't pinpoint it why they look different. Like these look a little different. And then I realized that like there was a sticker under a Cyclecraft sticker, and it was a DK sticker. Like DK had just come out with 4-piece bars. So, you know, and I was probably like 18 or whatever, but I think, you know, my dad had to place the order and put it on the credit card. So he was pissed, like they sent me these new bars that came out, trying to pass them off as Cyclecraft bars, and the DK bars were cheaper, but we paid the price for the Cyclecraft bars. So my dad was like livid, so he called up and was like screaming and Dan Duckworth was, I must have been someone in the shipping department or some sketchy excuse, right? But so send the handlebars back, we'll send him whatever he wants and a bunch of t-shirts and So I took the bars off, and me and Scott Yocolette like jumped on them and bent them back, and sent them back, or bent them all up and sent them back. We got some like slam bars or something. But anyway, so I was like, Dan's comp, and there was like some other years.
Always was drama.
There was some drama there, whatever. So I was like, so I was not like a big fan of Dan's comp, but Scott Town had started working there.
Okay.
And I didn't really know Scott very well, but I knew that he enjoyed the Anthem video, and he hit me up and was like, hey, I'm working here and doing this, and we'd like to do a video, and like, would you be interested in doing it? And at that point, Dan Duckworth, who had sold the company, and it had changed hands a couple times or whatever. So it's like, okay, I didn't have a lot of respect for that guy, but he's not there anymore, and I had a ton of still do a ton of respect for Scott.
Yeah.
I mean, we know, his contributions to BMX and a dude I had seen in all the magazines and whatever, so I liked Scott. I mean, I didn't really know him, but I thought he seemed like a cool dude, and like, I knew Crandall was friends with him, and like the people that I knew him had nothing but good things to say about him, So I was like, okay, maybe I could do that project or whatever, and living in Austin, I'm in Empire, and I'm like talking to Tina and Tom, and I say, I kind of got this offer, like I don't really know what to do, but like, what do you guys think? I mean, and I know they're not fans of Dan's comp or whatever, like I get it, But Tina was like, listen, you got to take this opportunity. Like, you'd be stupid not to take it. We're not going to hold it against you if you like do this video, And I was friends with some of the guys that were the team riders, at the time. So I was like, I guess, I'll do it, I guess. And I did. And it was an okay experience, There was no drama or no whatever, like I don't really, immerse myself in too much of the bike shop, or drama stuff, I don't really know a lot about it, but I'm just like, if these dudes are cool that I'm working with, and Tina and Tom have no problem with it, then I did it, and then shortly after they dropped like all the dudes, and they went under again or whatever, who knows what happened, but
is the video online? Can you see it?
Yeah, it should be.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I did that at the same time I was doing a lot of fit stuff. So that was kind of a real busy couple of years, And then we did Holy Fit, and that was fun. And Van got a Nor Cup, which was rad because, he was like, because he busted his ass, to like make the trips happen, and was like riding really hard. I think he even tib-fibbed his leg like in the middle of the project, and still came back and like won a Nor Cup, So that was like a pretty like cool thing to like help him accomplish that, because he knew that was going to be like his last real video part, So we did that, but then I think, this whole time, or at least for a handful of years right there, I was like, I would still get some like little Tunny would be like, hey, you want to do something for the X Games website, or random stuff, and I had judged a few events. So like I think the Holy Fit video maybe came out in 2014, 2015. And I was doing a bunch of X Games stuff, and then I got the opportunity to do like the real BMX stuff, like the video contest thing. And at that point, I think I was getting that opportunity, which was like it would be really hard to have said no to that, like a really cool project and kind of have a lot of say in how it gets run and stuff. But also at the same time too, I think Moeller was like, he was like really wanting someone who was wanting to live out in California to be like a full-time filmer. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Have an in-house guy, instead of your business in California, your filmers in Texas.
Yeah.
And they had a bunch of California sponsored riders at that time, So it kind of made sense. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go this way and do that. And then you guys, find someone that, made sense. and that was like the whole, I think the first, we started in 2015, but the first X Games Real BMX thing came out in 2016.
All right.
And we did 5 years of it. So 5 like full 1 hour shows, like with all behind the scenes and all that shit. And that was like on ABC television, which is like crazy. Wow. I mean, it's network television, which is, it still doesn't seem like I actually produced a TV show. Yeah, I produced a TV show, So that was a wild experience. But, and then COVID happened. And then at that point, all the budgets get pulled from X Games. I mean, ESPN, the whole thing is sporting events, and COVID happens. There's no sporting events.
That's it,
So there's no sporting events, and so that just started to kind of dry up. But then at that point in time, I think the Hallahans were coming down to Austin in the winter, and it's, hey, would you be into filming an SNM edit of the Hallahans? And then. Maddie's there, Clint's visiting, and it just kind of was like, hey, can you do this project? It just started like, I just started doing some S&M stuff, more S&M stuff again, and then 22 or something, like the guy that was doing all the fit stuff, ended up leaving, and it just was like, hey, we need this done too. We need this done too. And it just kind of was like a natural. I've always gotten along with Chris and Melissa.
Yeah.
So it's like working on projects, it's always been fun, and there's never been like any tension or anything. So cool. I've always enjoyed it. But
where'd the other guy go? Who was doing the fit stuff before?
Justin Benthian.
What was
just had a falling out with Chris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he do BMX stuff still?
Yeah.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
Just in California doing stuff, yeah.
Well, and that's you right up to now, right?
Yeah, that's it, pretty much up to now. Bunch of fit stuff, bunch of S&M stuff.
Well, man.
And that keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, that was good. That was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. We've got a Patreon page, so if you could show us any support, we'd be most grateful. The link's below. A lot of work goes into these shows, so anything you could do would be much appreciated. Thank you.